Chapter 780. The mountain wind was so strong that they couldn't even open their eyes. Their ears were filled with the howling of the wind. Lin Muyu circulated her divine power. Her eyes shone with a faint golden light, allowing her to see everything in the valley clearly. Lu Bai, on the other hand, had no choice but to use all his power to resist the mountain wind. The cloak he was wearing was torn apart by the mountain wind. "On my cloak. I bought this cloak with 3 gold coins." Lu Bai was heartbroken. Si Kongyao giggled from the side. "Be careful, there are bolts," Lin Muyu shouted. As expected, the people on the ground had already noticed the uninvited guests in the sky. A large group of mercenaries on the drill ground quickly spread out. There were more than a dozen ballistas set up around the drill ground, and the bolts were all aimed at the sky. Clang, clang, clang. Along with the sound of springs being fired, the giant ballistas with the iron nets were scattered into the sky. "Be careful. The bolts have been tempered with the essence of the demon heart stone," Chen Hang shouted. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others immediately became serious. The demon heart stone was the nemesis of God state experts. Who would dare to be careless? Buzz. The ice origin sword blasted out with a biting cold storm, and the demon heart hunting net that was used to hunt giant dragons and dragon knights was torn apart. Not far away, Si Kongyao summoned an ice wall to block the iron nets. And Zhuang Xiaoyu brandished his purple gold fan and easily tore through the iron net. However, his gaze was cast in Lin Muyu's direction. He had just discovered that Lin Muyu was actually using an extremely superior wind elemental law of divine power. This made him even more puzzled. Which law did this kid specialize in? Why was he able to use the ice, fire, light, and wind element divine powers so easily? Furthermore, his attainment in each law was unfathomable. This person was not simple. "If I fight him, can I win?" Zhuang Xiaoyu asked himself, but his heart was full of worries. Although he killed the Demon King, he was also injured. Although Lin Muyu killed the Demon Venerable, it was hard to say whether he could kill the Demon King easily. If that was the case, Zhuang Xiaoyu's strength was definitely below Lin Muyu's. Thinking of this, Zhuang Xiaoyu glanced at Si Kongyao again. Along the way, Si Kongyao's attitude towards Lin Muyu was very obvious. She was very intimate with Lin Muyu. Sometimes it was so intimate that it was a little out of line. Even when they were walking together, they looked so compatible. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but feel a twinge of pain in his heart. As the #1 rising star of the Tianji Empire, he was now inferior to Lin Muyu. "Since you gave birth to you and he Shengliang, young hero has made me so miserable. Be careful, someone has barged into the mountain. Ring the bell. Flaming wolf smoke, inform our brothers in the valley to send reinforcements." On the drill ground, a general holding an iron spear shouted loudly. Dang, dang, dang. The piercing sound of a bell reverberated in the air. Black smoke rose from the Devil's Palm Mountains in the distance. It was indeed the smoke signal. No one knew how many mercenaries were stationed in this huge canyon, but once they gathered together, they would definitely be a terrifying force to be reckoned with. On the ground, the general holding the iron spear suddenly leaped up. His body was filled with divine power. He was also a God state expert. "It's Saint Martial Venerable. Be careful," Chen Hang shouted in a low voice. However, this Saint Martial Venerable did not seem to be that strong. He shouted and stabbed his long spear at Zhuang Xiaoyu. Zhuang Xiaoyu responded calmly. He deftly blocked the tip of the iron spear with his purple gold fan, and used his dark force to easily block it. In the next moment, the divine power surged out and turned into a whirlwind that wrapped around the general's body. Zhuang Xiaoyu waved his arm and shouted in a low voice, "Get lost! Absolute Wind God Storm Coiling Dragon." Ah! The general was caught off guard. He concentrated all his divine power on the tip of the spear, but he did not expect this seemingly gentle young man to have such a perfect control of his power. He skillfully pushed aside the general's divine power. Therefore, the direction the tip of the spear was pointed at was Lin Muyu. He stepped on the void and increased his power to an even higher level, stabbing straight at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. She could not help but secretly find it funny. Was Zhuang Xiaoyu trying to test her strength? Thinking up to this point, she did not hesitate to increase her power to about 70%. Starlight filled the Ice Origin sword. She directly slashed at the opponent's spear with first appearance of Starlight. Clang! Metal and stone collided, and Starlight flew. The hasty attack directly caused the general's body to fall. He stepped on the ground with a bang, and the divine power of first appearance of Starlight was released from the soles of his feet. Poof! A shock wave spread out in all directions, and a group of mercenaries was thrown off their helmets and armor. They were in a sorry state. The general also stepped on the soil and took 3 steps back. His face was filled with disbelief. He looked up at Lin Muyu, who looked at ease in the sky. How is this possible? Who exactly are you? Lin Muyu was still carrying Lu Bai with one hand. The impact of the opponent's 9 Heavens Paradise divine wave on her right arm had dispersed easily. She smiled and said, "We are travelers from the Tianji Empire. We are here to pay a visit to leader LV Feng. Please pass a message for us." People from the Tianji Empire? The general's eyes turned cold. We, the Pishio mercenary group, have always been content with a corner of the world. We enjoy a life of freedom. We have nothing to do with the Tianji Empire. I wonder, why are you here? We simply want to see Lord LV Feng, Si Kongyao said with a smile. All right then. Please wait for a moment at the drill ground. I will go and invite the leader. Thank you. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, and the others landed on the ground. The Pishio mercenaries around them were very nervous. Many of them had pulled their bows and arrows and pointed them at them. Their arrowheads were a little black. They must be demon heart arrows. The devil's palm peaks did not lack demon heart stones. Naturally, they did not lack demon heart arrows. Even a few huge ballistas in the distance were pointed at them. Each ballista was equipped with more than 10 arrows. They were continuous crossbow bolts. Lin Muyu was silent. She watched everything here closely. Naturally, she had other plans in mind. Not long after, the door of the green brick building in front of them slowly opened. A group of people surrounded a man in armor and walked out. Needless to say, the man in the middle was LV Feng. He was a little fat, but he was very strong. His clothes were messy and his face was slightly red. Zhuang Xiaoyu could not help but frown. As expected of the greedy and lustful LV Feng, he is actually lewd in broad daylight. Even in broad daylight, he doesn't let go of the opportunity to enjoy himself. Lin Muyu said, "If you want to spar with LV Feng, who will go first?" It's a great opportunity to take advantage of the fact that he has just consumed a lot of profound qi. What do you mean by consuming profound qi? Si Kongyao turned around and looked at him. She asked very seriously. Lin Muyu pondered. She did not know how to answer. Zhuang Xiaoyu said, "Yao, don't ask this kind of question. This is a man's business." However, this indirectly reflected a problem. Si Kongyao was still a girl who was not married yet. Her understanding in this area was clearly a blank. Lu Bai kindly explained. Wasting one's essence qi refers to the matters of love between a man and a woman. Essence qi is the crystallization of the human body's essence. For a man, after consuming some of his essence qi, both his physical strength and divine power will be greatly damaged. It's equivalent to a period of weakness. I think this is probably what young hero meant. Si Kongyao's little face immediately turned red. She said, All men are bad." The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth rose. She did not know where this little girl's understanding had gone wrong. However, it did not matter. There was no need to care about her. Who is looking for me? LV Feng walked slowly, surrounded by a group of high-level mercenaries. The ruddiness on his face was gradually dissipating. It was replaced by paleness, which was caused by excessive consumption of profound qi. He glanced at the people one by one. When he saw Shangqian and Si Kongyao, his eyes suddenly brightened. He said, "Oh, there are such beautiful women who can topple a country. Ha ha ha." Zhuang Xiaoyu squinted and went forward to the etiquette of the Tianji Empire. He said, "I am Zhuang Xiaoyu, the son of Zhuang Xian, the premier of the Tianji Empire. This is Miss Si Kongyao of the Tianji sect. The other miss is Shangqian of the Tianji city." He only said the names of these 3 people, probably because these 3 people had the highest status. However, if Zhuang Xiaoyu knew that Lin Muyu's real identity was King Qin, one of the 3 kings of the Qin Empire, he would probably not say so. It turns out that you are the new talents of the Tianji Empire. LV Feng squinted, and the lust in his eyes disappeared. He was a man who knew when to advance and when to retreat. After knowing the identity of these people, he naturally would not have any improper thoughts. After all, the Tianji Empire could not be provoked. May I know what you have come to my Pishio mercenary group for? There's nothing important. Zhuang Xiaoyu smiled slightly. It's just that I have long heard that Lord LV Feng has swept the Blackstone Empire with a fire blade, and is almost invincible. Therefore, we juniors have come to visit you. Please teach us, Lord LV Feng. You have come to compare martial arts with me. LV Feng could not help laughing. Interesting, interesting. A few juniors are so arrogant. Zhuang Xiaoyu, don't think that you are so great, because you are the #1 new talent of the Tianji Empire. Believe it or not, you can't even take 3 strikes of my fire blade. Zhuang Xiaoyu laughed. If it is true, I Zhuang Xiaoyu am sincerely convinced. Then come. Wait. LV Feng waved his hand, gesturing for his subordinates to step back and remove the arrow formation. He said, if it is just a competition, it will be very boring. Why don't we make a bet? A bet? What kind of bet? If I win, I want to take away a treasure from you. If I lose, you can take away something from my stronghold. How about it? LV Feng narrowed his eyes and said with a confident smile, Young Master Zhuang, do you dare? Why not? Zhuang Xiaoyu said. Tell me, how many moves will it take to determine the winner? 10 moves. LV Feng said calmly. It will only take 10 moves to determine the winner. All right. Zhuang Xiaoyu nodded and said, then please teach me, Lord LV Feng. Buzz buzz buzz. LV Feng stood where he was, but a prairie fire burned around him, forcing Si Kongyao, Shang Qian, and the others to retreat. What a strong fire law divine power. Si Kongyao was secretly shocked. It seemed that Zhuang Xiaoyu was going to be at a disadvantage. LV Feng's fire divine power was at least at the 50th Grotto Heaven realm. No one would have thought that a mere mercenary group's leader had hidden such a cultivation. Chapter 781. The raging flames surrounded the long blade like a roaring dragon. LV Feng's aura was extremely majestic. With a loud roar, he revealed the aura of a powerhouse that was completely different from a greedy and lecherous person. The long blade fell from the sky and attacked Zhuang Xiaoyu from above. Before the long blade fell, the aura had already shrouded the ground, making it impossible for Zhuang Xiaoyu to dodge. After a cold snort, Zhuang Xiaoyu gathered all the strength in his body. This was the first time he used his full strength since he was injured. He could use at least 90% of his peak strength. He held the purple gold fan horizontally, and 90% of the power of the storm coiling dragon swept out, heading straight for LV Feng's chest. Ha 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 ha. In the midst of LV Feng's ferocious laughter, Zhuang Xiaoyu flew out like a cannonball with a bang. His face instantly turned pale, and the purple gold fan almost flew out of his hand. His arm felt as if it was filled with lead, and it was difficult to lift it. The intense burning pain spread throughout his body, and he only managed to stabilize himself after taking dozens of steps back. His body shook, and divine power seeped out of his body, dispersing the waves of divine power from the 50-second paradise that LV Feng had blasted into his body. However, his heart was getting colder and colder. LV Feng was so powerful. Haha, how was the taste of the first move? LV Feng stood majestically in the air, and looked down at Zhuang Xiaoyu. He stroked his beard and smiled. Young man, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How do you think your grandfather established himself in the Blackstone Empire? You. Zhuang Xiaoyu was filled with hatred, and his face was filled with anger and shame. The #1 talent of the Tianji Empire had actually been humiliated like this. This was simply unacceptable. However, the difference was right in front of him. He was completely defeated in the battle between the 29th and 52nd paradise. Even if he had the cast immortal fate and his opponent had the mortal fate, the difference was obvious. It's not over yet. Zhuang Xiaoyu's aura sank, and he immediately launched the next move. The surrounding wind seemed to be tearing everything apart. It was the third move of the absolute wind god. tearing heaven and earth. Child's play. LV Feng stood tall in the air, and the surroundings were once again set ablaze. Xiao sounds rang out unceasingly as the flames spun around like vines, forming a huge whirlpool. He shouted in a low voice, "Watch how this daddy's endless fire domain breaks your divine wind extinction." The flames were like a whirlpool, constantly devouring Zhuang Xiaoyu's wind blades. Crackling sounds of energy colliding resounded in the air, causing the mercenaries on the ground to retreat again and again in fear of being affected by this battle between gods. In the end, the flames won against the wind blades. Whoosh! Lu Feng's figure spun as he broke through the void. In the next moment he had already appeared above Zhuang Xiaoyu's head. His saber slashed down like lightning as he roared, "Watch out for my saber!" Close combat was what Zhuang Xiaoyu, a cultivator of the law of wind, feared the most. In his haste he hurriedly used his purple gold fan to block, but with a dang sound his arm had already been knocked away. He was barely able to block, but LV Feng's body was like a spinning top, and he quickly sent a second strike down. With a poochie sound, blood splattered, and a finger-long wound appeared on the left side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. Wah! Zhuang Xiaoyu retreated again and again. His injuries were not serious, but the confidence in his heart was almost completely shattered. His divine power astral wall had actually been instantly pierced by a saber. What kind of blow was this? After stabilizing his body, Zhuang Xiaoyu panted miserably, but he did not show any signs of admitting defeat. He gently waved his purple gold fan, and dimensional cracks appeared around him. Those were the starting points of the dimensional wind blades. In the blink of an eye, the dimensional wind blades covered the sky and earth, dancing wildly in the surroundings. It was extremely terrifying. Zhuang Xiaoyu's figure slowly rose up, and he stood amidst the lightning and thunder like a god. "That's more like it." Lu Feng stroked his beard and laughed. Thinking back, the Zhuang family's ultimate technique was indeed unique on the continent. However, in the hands of your generation, its power was greatly reduced. If the Zhuang family's ancestor had used the wind god absolute, perhaps the first 3 moves would have been enough to defeat me. As for you, you dare to challenge me with your half-baked cultivation? You're simply asking to be humiliated. What's the point of saying so much? Zhuang Xiaoyu could not bear the humiliation and roared, "If you have the guts, then come and break this young master's dimensional chaos slash." Ha 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 ha. LV Feng laughed maniacally. "Open your dog eyes and I'll break it for you to see." Flames surged, and LV Feng roared. The divine power around his body quickly scattered, and his entire body was already in a huge ball of fire with a radius of nearly 10 meters. This ball of fire was like a barrier protecting him, and when the dimensional wind blades attacked, the ball of fire would definitely blast out a saber light to disperse the dimensional wind blades. Pung pung pung. The densely packed sounds of slashing interweaved into one. After nearly half a minute, Zhuang Xiaoyu's dimensional chaos slash, which had almost exhausted his divine power, could not break through LV Feng's wall of fire. He could not help but take a step back, and his face was full of shock. How is this possible? How can a mere mortal be so powerful? Swish. An opening suddenly appeared in the huge ball of fire, and LV Feng shot toward Zhuang Xiaoyu like a sharp arrow with his long saber. The long saber swung, and another wound appeared on the other side of Zhuang Xiaoyu's face. He whimpered, and before he could react, LV Feng's body sank, and his iron fist filled with flame god power smashed straight into Zhuang Xiaoyu's abdomen. Bam! Zhuang Xiaoyu's body crashed into the short wall like a cannonball, and only stopped after passing through 3 layers of short walls. He lay there with his face covered in dirt, and even breathing was a little difficult. Big brother Xiaoyu. Si Kongyao was stunned, and she quickly flew over to help Zhuang Xiaoyu up. She quickly used her divine power to replenish his strength. "Yao, don't help me." Zhuang Xiaoyu supported himself with the broken wall and stood up shakily. His face was full of hatred as he looked at LV Feng, who was in the air, and said, I've lost, and I accept it wholeheartedly. Just tell me what treasures you want from me. Whether it's the purple gold fan or the treasures in my space bag, I'll give them to you if you want them." "There's no need, young Master Zhuang." LV Feng smiled coldly, raised his long saber, and said, You've already given me your treasures. What do you mean? Don't you understand? LV Feng pointed a finger at Zhuang Xiaoyu's face and said, I hate handsome men like you the most in my life. You think you can sleep with any woman you want just by relying on your looks? Exactly what do you have? Are you even worthy? I hate you people to death, so I cut your face twice. Let me tell you, in this world, it's fine if your face isn't good-looking enough, but your fists must be hard enough. Do you understand? LV Feng stood majestically in the air, and his beard fluttered in the wind. He actually gave off the vibe of a senior who had attained enlightenment. His face somewhat resembled someone Wu Mingda. I've learned something. Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. This time he was truly convinced. Although LV Feng was only a mortal, his attainments in martial arts far surpassed his. This was a true powerhouse. At this moment, LV Feng's gaze fell on Si Kongyao. He said, the beloved daughter of the Celestial Enlightenment sect leader, Si Kongyao, do you want to challenge me? If you want to challenge me, I've already thought of what I want. Si Kongyao was startled. What do you want? Other than your first time. What else can I want? LV Feng didn't lose his cool and said with a smile. Shameless. Si Kongyao was embarrassed and angry. She gritted her teeth. Shang Qian hurriedly said, Yao, don't be rash. Even young Master Zhuang Xiaoyu lost. You must not be rash. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll fall into his trap. Shang Qian even regretted agreeing to come to the Devil's Palm Peaks. They had underestimated LV Feng too much. It was like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Lin Muyu also said, and don't be rash. Chen Heng hasn't made a move yet. Maybe he can win against LV Feng? Chen Heng trembled at the side. He cursed in his heart that this brat was inhumane. LV Feng was a 52nd Heaven Realm powerhouse. He was already very strong. Moreover, he was injured. It was impossible for him to be LV Feng's opponent. Chen Heng. LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at the crowd. He replied with an "oh" and said with a smile, I remember now. There is indeed a man in the Shang family of Tianji City, who is good at trapping horses. His name is Chen Heng. It is said that he has some skills. Chen Heng's face turned pale. LV Feng, don't go too far. I'm already injured. Otherwise. Injured? What kind of injury? LV Feng asked. Chen Heng said, I was hit by the demon god Nushi's divine sound. My meridians and Sea of Qi are all injured. Meridians are injured? LV Feng frowned and smiled. Then, I'll give you a handicap. I'll give you an arm. How about that? What do you mean? That's what I mean. LV Feng suddenly stretched out his left hand. He clenched his fist and forcefully activated his divine force. Crack, crack, crack. His meridians were cracking. Blood splattered everywhere. Even if his left arm flew away in a short period of time, it would take at least 3 to 5 days to recover even if he used his divine force to heal it. He panted miserably and smiled. How about it? Do you dare to fight with me? Madman, he's a madman. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. In order to provoke Chen Heng into accepting the challenge, LV Feng actually destroyed his own arm. How crazy was this? Did he really want to win against this group of people in front of him? Lin Muyu remained silent. She was still like a servant beside Si Kongyao. She used the Spirit Pulse art to maintain her aura at the first layer of Grotto Heaven level. This way, even LV Feng couldn't see through her. LV Feng looked down on this group of people and broke his own arm. This was the result that Lin Muyu wanted. Originally, he was worried that he wasn't a match for this 52nd layer Grotto Heaven godly king. Now everything was fine. He was courting death. He couldn't blame others. Uncle Chen Heng, be careful. Shang Qian whispered. Chen Heng gritted his teeth and gripped the rock-collapsing spear tightly. He said, then, let me experience your martial arts. LV Feng's face was full of contempt. He could see the depth of Chen Heng's strength. This person was definitely not a match for him. Chapter 782. Peng. A powerful flame blasted out like a giant's arm. A streak of blood mixed with the morning glow. Chen Heng spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly in the air. The rock-collapsing spear made a buzzing sound as it flipped in the air and landed heavily on the wall. Chun Hang fell to the ground in a sorry state. He knelt on one knee and held the cold ground with his hand. He coughed violently and vomited a mouthful of blood. The flame force in his body seemed to be devouring his flesh and blood. LV Feng's flame force was too strong. Even if Chun Hang was at his peak, he would only have a 30% chance of winning against LV Feng. Not to mention that the injury caused by the Demon Emperor Nushi's zither attack in his body had yet to fully recover. Uncle Chun Hang. Shang Qian and Si Kongyao rushed to Chun Hang's left and right respectively and helped him up. Si Kongyao asked with concern, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Chun Hang pushed away the two girls' support and cupped his fists. "Sir LV Feng, I've lost. I don't know, what do you want from me? As long as you want it, Chun Hang will not complain." "I want that spear of yours." LV Feng held the scorching flame saber and stood proudly in the air like a deity looking down at the group. Chun Hang coughed violently again and looked at Lin Muyu. "Young hero, you don't have any excuses this time, right? The honor and disgrace of our group rests on you alone." Lin Muyu kept quiet as he wasn't confident of winning. LV Feng defeated Zhuang Xiaoyu in 3 moves and Chun Hang in 14 moves. How could a hierarch like him look down on such strength? However, at this moment, LV Feng squinted his eyes and looked at Lin Muyu. He pointed at him and said, "That brat, you're much better looking than the previous one. I've long disliked you. Come on. Since you have the guts to challenge my Pishio mercenaries mountain gate, let me see how capable you are." Shi Tianming was shocked and secretly rejoiced. "Fortunately, I'm not good looking. Otherwise, I'd be dead." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu with concern and said, "Young swordsman, LV Feng's strength is unfathomable. I think, if it's not necessary, there's no need to stand out. Let's go back safely and admit that we're cowards." "Why should I admit defeat?" Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Ice Origin sword from her back and said with a smile, "It's rare to meet such an expert. If I don't try, how can I be willing to go back?" "Are you crazy?" Lu Bai's eyes widened. At this moment, in his eyes, Lin Muyu and LV Feng had already been categorized as the same kind of people. Lunatics, a group of people who went crazy in pursuit of power. However, what would be the outcome of a duel between two madmen? Shang Qian walked forward and said faintly, "Young hero, it's all up to you now. Be careful." Lin Muyu nodded. Shang Qian had a faint fragrance of a young girl. She was indeed a rare beauty, but her thoughts were too deep. It was so deep that Lin Muyu was unwilling to know more about her. Si Kongyao held the thin sword in her hand and looked at LV Feng coldly. LV Feng's words just now were an insult to her. If she was strong enough, she would kill him without hesitation. Si Kongyao would definitely do it. This was her personality. She wouldn't offend others if they didn't offend her. Once her bottom line was crossed, there was nothing she wouldn't do. Lin Muyu looked at her and nodded slightly, as if telling her, "I'll help you get back at him." Si Kongyao didn't say much. She only said 2 words, "Be careful." Lin Muyu turned around and said to LV Feng, who was in the air, "Are we still the same? The winner can take something from the loser?" "That's right." The corner of LV Feng's mouth curled up. "But, with just you? Can you really win? How would I know if I don't try?" Lin Muyu chuckled. His aura didn't lose out to LV Feng in the slightest. He stepped into the sky, and with every step he took, his strength increased by 10%. When he took 10 steps forward, his body was already shrouded in dazzling golden god force. His strength had also reached the highest level, and the spirit beads of law formed by his supreme being godhead were ready to appear. And LV Feng couldn't help but frown. He realized that this kid in front of him wasn't someone Zhuang Xiaoyu and Chun Hang could compare to. At the very least, his ability to conceal his aura was better than the former's. "I actually misjudged you. Interesting." LV Feng laughed heartily. The aura around him rose rapidly, and a mountain-like domain pressure descended on the surroundings. Lin Muyu held the sword in one hand and took a deep breath. The sovereign lattice in his eye trembled slightly, and a majestic domain energy spread out. It actually condensed into a physical attack that rippled outwards. For a moment, The people on the ground were suffocated by the domain pressure of the two God Realm experts. Hua hua hua. A fierce wind blew as the domains of the two collided. They were evenly matched. A wave of God's wave was like a heavy blast. The collision of the waves was like a heavy bomb exploding in the air. Waves of airflow crazily surged in all directions. Soon, the people of the Paishio mercenary group couldn't bear it anymore, and were blown to the left and right. Retreat. Retreat to the outside of the wall. An officer ordered loudly. Among Si Kongyao's group, Lu Bai was the first to be unable to bear it. His nose was already bleeding, and he blankly wiped it. His hand was covered in blood, and his breathing became heavy as he said, "Are the two of them still human? What is this unbearable pressure?" "It's a domain." Si Kongyao looked at the two figures in the sky, and said indifferently, "How can a mortal withstand the domain pressure of a god? Lu Bai, go to the outer wall with the mercenaries. You will bleed to death if you stay here." Okay. Lu Bai nodded repeatedly and glared at Shi Tianming. "Young Master Shi, do you think you are much stronger than me? Do you want to hide with me?" Shi Tianming nodded hurriedly. "Let's go." The two of them fled. Chun Heng squinted his eyes and condensed a rock armor to resist the domain pressure. He said, "This is too strange." "What's strange?" Shang Qian asked with a pale face. It was already very difficult for her to resist the domain pressure. Chun Heng panted heavily and said, "I have seen young heroes move. He is only at the 22nd Grotto Heaven stage, while LV Feng is at the 52nd Grotto Heaven stage. There is a huge difference of 30 Grotto Heaven stage, which is equivalent to a major realm. With such a difference, he is actually able to stand under LV Feng's domain pressure. How is this possible? Could it be that he has cultivated a secret art related to domain? Impossible. Even if he has a secret art, a domain is a domain, and the difference between the major realms is incalculable. Or his divine spark grade." Shang Qian's intelligent eyes glowed with light, and she said, "During the battle with the demon the Arch, I have seen it in a glance. He is able to take out the Law Spirit Pearl. Could it be the Cast Immortal Spark or the Master God Spark?" "That's even more impossible," Chun Heng said. "All gods with the Cast Immortal Spark will be listed in the register, and the Western Heaven Realm will naturally send an envoy to recruit them. They will also promise that once they cultivate the Great Tao, they will be given the identity of a high-level angel. But he did not, and if it is the Master God Spark, it is even more impossible. Every Master God Spark will cause the entire Divine Realm to tremble, and he will become an opponent that the four Divine Realms will fight to recruit. How can he be a mere wanderer in the celestial pole continent?" Then Shang Qian was a little puzzled. How can he resist LV Feng's domain? "I don't know." Chun Heng shook his head tiredly. "I can't see through him. I really can't see through him." "Uncle Chun Heng, step back and rest for a while." In the sky, the collision of the domain's airflow became more and more intense. Purple light flashed, and there was a great momentum of thunder. Two tiny figures were dominating the heaven and earth. The sky was filled with dark clouds, and in the distance, tornadoes had already formed. A catastrophe was quietly descending because of this battle. Only Lin Muyu knew the bitterness of this. LV Feng's pressure came wave after wave, and it was extremely concentrated. It was as if he wanted to attack her divine spark, damage it, and retreat in the face of difficulties. Thus, Lin Muyu could only use all her strength to activate her divine power, and the sea of consciousness surged. This immature sovereign spark swayed endlessly in the waves, and it emitted a light that soared into the sky, nurturing more divine power for its master. Originally, Lin Muyu's paradise cultivation was far inferior to her opponents, but the sovereign spark's recovery speed was too fast, so in the time it took for LV Feng to activate 52 waves, Lin Muyu could repeat the domain 2 to 3 times, forming more than 50 waves of divine waves to resist LV Feng. Pooh! Lin Muyu felt a sweetness in her throat, and she was the first to succumb to the pressure. A trickle of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. LV Feng wasn't any better. His face was pale, and the fire saber in his hand was trembling. He shouted, "Brat, if you surrender now, I won't hold it against you." Lin Muyu didn't say a word. and she continued to activate her divine power. This was the time to kill LV Feng. In less than half a minute, LV Feng spat out a mouthful of blood, and the flames around him swirled rapidly. He forcefully broke free from the domain's restraint, and he swung his saber at Lin Muyu. Finally, it was time for a head-on battle. The Ice Origin sword trembled lightly, and rays of starlight formed into armor that surrounded Lin Muyu. This was the defensive effect of the Star Lotus armor. The two passed by each other, and as their weapons clashed, they both launched a series of attacks at each other. Bang bang bang. LV Feng's 3 consecutive kicks landed on Lin Muyu's calf, and Lin Muyu didn't hesitate to gather the Law of Ice on her fist. And she punched LV Feng's back with all her strength. Pung. The icy cold fist actually didn't break through the opponent's defense. LV Feng's body was surrounded by a dense golden protective wall. It was the God Wall. Lin Muyu was at a disadvantage. She stepped on the void, turned around, and launched a series of fierce sword attacks. The angles were tricky, and each sword was faster than the previous one. In an instant, LV Feng had no choice but to deal with it. Clang clang clang. The two's bodies were hidden in the dark clouds, and the people on the ground could only see rays of golden light shooting out from the dark clouds. Then, in the next 1 to 2 seconds, there was the impact of the attack, and the waves swept across the ground. He's so strong. Shang Qian looked up at the sky, and her beautiful eyes were blurred. Si Kongyao also raised her long, snow-white neck, and her eyes were rippling with desire. She muttered, "If he could be used by me, how good would that be?" Zhuang Xiaoyu's face was pale. "That's impossible. Give up, Yao. He's destined not to be used by you." "So what?" Si Kongyao suddenly smiled like a blooming flower. Chapter 783. The 17th Move. Streaks of lightning circulated around Lin Muyu's fist. This heavy punch landed on LV Feng's left arm in a gorgeous arc. It was his injured left arm. Bang! The divine wall finally couldn't withstand Lin Muyu's powerful attack. LV Feng's divine wall started to break. Ah! LV Feng vomited a mouthful of blood. He held his saber with one hand and roared, "Who are you? Is it important who I am?" Lin Muyu panted heavily. The clothes on his body were almost torn apart by his opponent's flame force, revealing his strong physique. Every line of his muscles looked incomparably sturdy, and the light of lightning constantly flickered around his body. During the battle, he realized that LV Feng's resistance to lightning was very weak, so he decided to hit LV Feng while he was down, constantly bombarding LV Feng's wounds with his Law of Lightning. In a battle of life and death, how could there be any benevolence? LV Feng howled and retreated dozens of meters. His body was once again surrounded by prairie fire. The light from his saber soared into the sky, as if it was going to split the sky. He shouted, "I will not lose. I, LV Feng, will not lose." Buzz. The saber light slashed down with flames. Lin Muyu faced the saber light. But the moment his face touched the saber light, his body suddenly disappeared. Shatter the void. LV Feng cursed in his heart. This kid's recovery speed was too fast. Lightning flashed behind him. LV Feng couldn't do anything anymore. 5 elements, 8 wastelands extermination. The spiritual power from all directions gathered together in the light of the Law of Lightning. As Lin Muyu's fist landed heavily on LV Feng's back, the sound of ribs breaking could be heard. LV Feng howled. His reaction was shockingly fast. His elbow suddenly smashed in the opposite direction and hit Lin Muyu's shoulder. The 52 heavenly grotto heaven waves violently attacked, and instantly destroyed the dragon blood battle shield. It even tore open his flesh and blood splattered. But that wasn't all. Buzz. The handle of the saber was sent backward. Bang! Lin Muyu was struck in the chi-si in her lower abdomen. With a muffled groan, she turned into a ball of lightning, and was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Her face was pale. LV Feng had already used his killing move, and every move was aimed at her vitals. Bastard! Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and pounced forward with her sword. Disregarding her injuries, she launched a counterattack. Her long sword struck the hilt of the saber 5 times in a row. LV Feng did not seem to have the strength to fight back. But just when Lin Muyu was slightly careless, LV Feng actually flipped the long saber, and suddenly grabbed the sword hilt, roaring, "Let go!" With a loud bang, he kicked Lin Muyu's wrist, and the Ice Origin sword flew out of her hand. Crash! Amidst the dark clouds, the Ice Origin sword spun and descended, leaving a trail of lightning in its wake. Is that the Ice Origin sword? Si Kongyao was stunned. She was very worried. Is he alright? Zhuang Xiaoyu narrowed his eyes. Don't worry, Yao. He won't die. Boom boom. The sound of fists colliding echoed in the dark clouds. The two of them had already begun to fight with their lives on the line. The more LV Feng fought, the more valiant he became. There was a proud expression on his face, and his aura suppressed Lin Muyu's. He waved his long saber and slashed randomly. Rays of saber light bombarded Lin Muyu. Die for me. The long saber suddenly struck out like lightning. This saber was as fast as lightning, and it was a fatal saber strike. Lin Muyu stepped into the air. Her entire body was covered in blood, but she maintained a clear mind and calmness. Her body swayed, and she dodged this fatal strike. Her hands grabbed the edge of the saber, and she used her bare hands to block the saber. Under LV Feng's shocked gaze, Lin Muyu grabbed the edge of the saber, and suddenly lifted her body. Her knee smashed into LV Feng's abdomen, forcing him to abandon his saber. Bastard! Just as LV Feng abandoned his weapon and prepared to fight with his bare hands, Lin Muyu's body spun, and a cold light pressed against LV Feng's neck. It was the demonic noise saber. This small demonic noise saber was like an exquisite dagger in Lin Muyu's hands. The sharp edge had already cut open LV Feng's skin, and a stream of blood dripped down. As long as Lin Muyu used more strength, LV Feng's head would be separated from his body. LV Feng was so scared that he couldn't move. He silently stayed in the air, closed his eyes and said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me." "I don't want to kill you." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and said with a sad smile, "I only want to fight you to the death. Have you already forgotten our bet? You won't kill me?" LV Feng was delighted. "Yes, but the condition is that you admit defeat." "All right, I admit defeat." LV Feng was very straightforward. "Very well. Thank you for letting me win." Lin Muyu moved the magic noise saber away. She wasn't worried about LV Feng's counterattack, because she had a weapon in her hand and LV Feng didn't. Moreover, LV Feng was seriously injured. It would be a piece of cake for her to kill him. The wind howled and the dark clouds dissipated. Two figures descended from the sky. It was Lin Muyu and LV Feng who looked extremely miserable. Seeing the magic noise saber in Lin Muyu's hand, they immediately knew the result. Si Kongyao was overjoyed. She walked forward and said, "Young hero, you won?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded heavily. The group of mercenary leaders was stunned. There were two ultimate gods among them who knew LV Feng's strength. He was a peerless expert who was about to peek into the Emperor God realm. How could such a person lose? LV Feng said with a dark face, "Yes, I lost. I lost the bet. Tell me, what do you want from me?" "Treasures, weapons, or even my arms or legs. If you want them, I will give them to you. What do I want these for?" Lin Muyu smiled and said in front of LV Feng's subordinates, "I want the position of the Pishio mercenary group's leader." "What did you say?" LV Feng was shocked. "You want the Pishio mercenary group? Why can't I? It's also an item that belongs to you, isn't it?" LV Feng's face became even uglier. He said, "Are you sure you want to be the leader of the Pishio mercenary group? Are you sure you can control my group of brothers?" "No, I don't want to be the leader." Lin Muyu shouted from afar. "Bai, come here." Lu Bai hurriedly walked over and asked, "What's wrong? What's the matter?" Lin Muyu patted Lu Bai's shoulder and said with a smile, "If I don't want to be the leader, let him be." "What?" The group of mercenaries was dumbfounded. LV Feng couldn't help but sneer and said, "What do the Pishio mercenary group rely on to stand tall on the Devil's Palm Peaks? It's our fists and brotherhood. Just based on this low cultivation trash, how can he be the leader of our Pishio mercenary group? If you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. Do you want to renege on your debt?" Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "If you break your promise in front of everyone, I want to see how you will convince the others in the future, and how you will be the leader of the Pichio mercenary group. Several mercenary leaders' faces turned red and said angrily, "No, absolutely not. We will only obey LV Feng. This person called Lu Bai can go eat s." Lu Bai didn't dare to say anything. After all, these mercenary leaders were all burly, and there was no lack of sacred warrior-level experts among them. It wouldn't be good if he spoke carelessly and was beaten to death. Lin Muyu proudly said, "Just say, if you agree to bet, you must accept your loss?" LV Feng. Her gaze was like a sharp sword, making LV Feng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. "Good. Good. Good." LV Feng said good 3 times. He reached into his space bag and took out a blood-red thumb ring and said, "This vermilion bird thumb ring is the token of our Pichio mercenary group's leader. I'll give it to you." With a paw sound, Lin Muyu caught the thumb ring and handed it to Lu Bai and said, "Put it on." Lu Bai was stunned, but Lin Muyu's words were not a discussion, but an order. He could only put it on. Si Kongyao, Chen Hang, Shang Qian and the others were also dumbfounded. No one knew what Lin Muyu wanted to do. Why did he let Lu Bai be the leader of the Pichio mercenary group? "All right, why don't you come and greet the new leader?" Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. His imposing manner was awe-inspiring. There was actually a faint aura of a king. The group of mercenary leaders looked at each other. In the end, they actually knelt together and said in an uneven voice, "We greet the leader." "What about you?" Lin Muyu stared at LV Feng. "You." LV Feng gritted his teeth. In the end, his left arm trembled as he knelt on one knee and said, "Subordinate LV Feng greets leader Lu Bai." Lin Muyu smiled with satisfaction. "We are the leader's distinguished guests. Treat us well. It's going to be noon soon. Aren't you going to arrange lunch and accommodation?" "Yes." LV Feng cupped his fists, his face was ashen. The group slowly entered the courtyard of the Pichio mercenary group. Si Kongyao and Shang Qian were confused. "What is he going to do?" Shang Qian asked in confusion. "I don't know." Si Kongyao smiled slightly. Her easygoing personality made it easier for her to get happy. She said with a smile, "Maybe this guy just wants to cheat us for a meal. Anyway, it's good for us to eat and drink. It's rare for us to have a good meal after coming out for so many days." Shang Qian was a little speechless. Zhuang Xiaoyu held the purple gold fan in his hand and looked around coldly. As the son of the prime minister, how could he be willing to associate with mercenaries? But at this time, he really had no choice. He had to stay here even if he didn't want to. Who knew what Lin Muyu was going to do? After a sumptuous lunch, Lin Muyu called the 7 captaincy leaders of the Pichio mercenary group into the secret room to lecture them one by one. Each of them was lectured for nearly 30 minutes. Si Kongyao, Lu Bai, and others were very annoyed. When Lin Muyu finished lecturing them, it was already night. Then came the dinner party. After eating and drinking, they went back to their rooms to rest. Lu Bai slept in the leader's room where LV Feng used to live. After dismissing the maids, he couldn't fall asleep. "Lini." When he was half asleep, someone suddenly woke up Lu Bai. It was Lin Muyu's voice. "What's wrong, young hero? Go to sleep under the bed. Give the bed to me." "Why? Why?" "Because you can't beat me. Can you?" "Yes." Chapter 784. In the secret room, the dim light flickered gently. LV Feng sat there with an ashen face. Golden divine power flowed through his injured arm and back, healing himself. Next to him were 3 mercenary captains. They all had respectful expressions on their faces, but they didn't say a word. Damn it. LV Feng gritted his teeth. That kid really doesn't know what's good for him. He let a weak scholar be the leader of the Pichio mercenary band. I want to see how he dies. LV Feng looked at the 3 of them angrily. Why aren't you saying anything? What did that kid say when he called the 3 of you into the secret room this afternoon? He didn't say anything. He just made tea for us and asked us to taste it with him. He also said that our tea can't compare to Pu, and Longjing tea. It's astringent and not sweet. Nothing. LV Feng's eyes were cold. How is that possible? What about Jiang Lai and Luo Rang? Did they say anything? They didn't say anything. One of the captaincy said respectfully. Jiang Lai has been living in a city outside of the demonic peaks for a long time. I'm afraid he already has ulterior motives. Luo Rang has also been secretly dissatisfied with your arrangements. I'm afraid the three of them already have ulterior motives. Now that this Lu Bai has become the leader, they will definitely submit to him in order to rise in power. They also want to rise in power. LV Feng laughed. These idiots probably don't know that tonight is the day Lu Bai dies. Leader, you want to kill that Lu Bai? Yes. LV Feng gritted his teeth. First kill Lu Bai, then kill the other kid. How can the dignified Pishio mercenary band die in the hands of two nameless people? In a while, the few of you go to that kid's room first. He was seriously injured during the day. Use the fragrance of lost souls to knock him out and secretly kill him. I will go kill Lu Bai. Don't be in a hurry. We will act at dawn. Yes, leader. The captaincy's face was full of flattery. Right, what about Jiang Lai, Luo Rang, and Hu Qiu? After dealing with this group of people, we'll deal with the three of them. Commander is wise. Go and prepare the soulless incense. Yes. Before dawn, the cold moonlight shone on the mountain forest. The cold wind constantly blew through the bamboo forest in the courtyard, making rustling sounds. All the residents in the courtyard fell asleep amidst this sound. Whoosh! A silhouette drifted through the corridor like a ghost. It was completely silent, and even its aura seemed to have merged with the heavens and earth, making it impossible for anyone to detect it. However, there were naturally people who did not sleep that night. He gently attached himself to the door, like a big bat waiting to suck blood. He listened carefully for a long time. The person in the room was breathing heavily, and had already fallen into a deep sleep. Phew! The cold wind blew open the door, and his figure floated into the room, moving with the wind. The dagger in his hand reflected the moonlight, and stabbed straight at the person sleeping on the bed. Buzz! Suddenly, a golden light blossomed, as dazzling as the first rays of dawn. Ah! LV Feng screamed, and he could barely open his eyes. However, his hand didn't stop moving and continued to stab downwards. Nail! A heavy strike blocked the dagger, and it was also a dagger. Shwa shwa shwa. Many golden gourd vines sprang up from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, LV Feng's body was trapped in place. Even if he could break free with his strength, he would need half a second. But half a second was enough for the opponent to kill him. Using the golden light from the gourd vines, LV Feng could see clearly that this person in front of him was not Lu Bai, but Lin Muyu. He had actually disguised his aura to be exactly the same as Lu Bai. Don't move! Lin Muyu suddenly punched LV Feng's abdomen. And with a crescent light, it was the long river falling moon. The moonlight attack severed his meridians, and for a moment, LV Feng couldn't summon any god power in his Qi. I originally didn't want to kill you, but since you wanted to kill a commoner, don't blame me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but wave her arm, and the demonic noise blade, which was imbued with supreme god power, slit LV Feng's throat. Blood splattered, and it was golden blood, as if it was gilding the tiles on the ground. LV Feng clutched his throat and let out a beast-like whimper, but this couldn't save his life. He slowly knelt on the ground, and his pupils constricted. Shwa! A sparkling and translucent god lattice broke out of his body. It was LV Feng's mortal lattice. Lin Muyu stretched out her hand, and kept this mortal lattice into her cosmos sac. Although the mortal lattice wasn't much, it was still a god lattice. Moreover, LV Feng's attainments in the law of fire were very profound, and the power of fire within this god lattice was very precious. After returning to the Shattered Cauldron realm, she could use the treasure cauldron to refine it, and give it to Tang Xiaoxi to raise her cultivation. Refining god lattice to absorb god power was much more effective than refining demon spirit stones. Bang! When LV Feng laid down, Lu Bai, who was under the bed, was startled awake. Ah, what's going on? Why is there a dead person? Ah, it's LV Feng. How did he die here? He originally wanted to kill you, but in the end he lost his life. Lin Muyu picked up LV Feng's dagger, and carefully looked at it. Lu Bai was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Oh my god, young hero, You made me sleep under the bed to save me. What else? Lin Muyu glanced at him and said, Commoner, you were too weak in the past, and that's why you were bullied everywhere. Today, I will push you to the position of Pishio Mercenary Group's leader. Do you think you are up for it? I will do my best to be up for it. Lu Bai's words didn't have much confidence. No, for the time being, you don't have the qualifications to say that you are up for it. Lin Muyu smiled very brightly. She wasn't the slightest bit worried about hurting Lu Bai's self-esteem. She said, but there's one thing you have to remember. Only when you truly become a strong person will you be respected. I will find a good helper for you to reorganize the Pishio Mercenary Group. Reorganize? The Pishio Mercenary Group isn't in turmoil. Why do we need to reorganize? There will be turmoil soon. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches. I met with the 7 vice leaders during the day. They seem to be united, but they are divided at heart. They all have their own plans. Now that LV Feng, the leader, is dead, there will definitely be a civil war. I'm afraid that tomorrow, the Devil's Palm Peaks will be dyed red with blood. Then I'm afraid that many people will die, right? Lu Bai's voice was trembling. If there are no dead people, how can the cards be shuffled? Lin Muyu sighed. She didn't know when she had become so calculative and unscrupulous. But since she had stepped on this path, she could only continue walking. This was her mission. Lu Bai was silent for a long time. His eyes became much clearer. He suddenly said indifferently, Young hero, who are you? Do you really want to know? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Look at this. Lin Muyu took out a golden seal from her Qingkuan bag. Although Lu Bai couldn't see it, he could feel these words with his palm. He couldn't help but sweat profusely as he said, Emperor Qin's seal. Emperor Qin's seal. Could you be Emperor Qin Lin Muyu from the other side of the West Sea? Yes, I am Lin Muyu. He didn't deny it. You. Lu Bai's hand that was holding the golden seal trembled. He said, Your Highness Emperor Qin, why did you come to the celestial pole continent? Lin Muyu sat by the bed and smiled as usual. The war is about to start. It's the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire that want to invade my homeland. So I came here. Bai, I want to ask you to do something for me. What is it? Be the leader of the Pishio Mercenary Group. Collect the demonic heartstones in the demonic Palm Peaks, and transport them to the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent, using the channels that you have. Lin Muyu raised LV Feng's dagger and said, Look, this dagger has been tempered with the essence of the demonic heartstone. As long as it pierces into the body of a god state expert, he won't be able to use his divine power, and will be demoted to a sanctuary expert. A small demonic heartstone can destroy a god. Are you willing to help me? Are you willing to help the Shattered Cauldron Realm? Are you asking me to betray my country? Lu Bai was dejected. Your country, your king. Are they worthy of your loyalty? Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai was stunned. After a while, he held the golden seal, and took a few steps back. He knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu and said, I, Lu Bai, have lived a muddle-headed life. No one looked up to me and no one treated me as a friend except for you. Since Emperor Qin thinks highly of me, I, Lu Bai, will definitely repay him with my life. As long as I'm alive, I won't let Emperor Qin down. Get up. We are friends, not subordinates. Lin Muyu smiled. Someone is coming. Who? Before he could finish his sentence, the door was kicked open with a bang, and shattered into pieces. Si Kongyao's pretty face was covered with frost. She looked at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai indifferently and said, I need an explanation. Fine. Lin Muyu stood in front of Lu Bai and said, If you want an explanation, come with me, eldest Mississippi. As she spoke, Lin Muyu leaped into the air and flew into the distance. Bang. The dust on the ground surged, and the cyclone flowed back. Si Kongyao also followed. Lu Bai held the Emperor Qin's golden seal, and stood there in a daze. He didn't know what to do. Swoosh swoosh. 2 rays of cold light flashed across the sky and suddenly collided. Si Konyao's palm fell, and the power of the ice mystic art landed heavily on the wall of the golden gourd on Lin Muyu's back. Bang. The two fell into the valley between the mountains. Bang bang. The two's bodies carried a vast amount of divine power, leaving a deep pit in the ground and breaking countless trees. Si Kongyao's palm landed on Lin Muyu's body 3 times in a row. Her questioning voice echoed in the valley. Why did you lie to me? I trusted you so much. Why? Lin Muyu didn't retaliate at all. The two crashed through a huge rock with a bang, and rolled on the grass with their faces covered in dirt. The moonlight shone down. Si Kongyao cried. You lied to me. You used me and almost made me betray my own country. You. Chapter 785. Bang. A fistful of ice energy landed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. The wall of the calabash made a buzzing sound. Lin Muyu fell back dozens of meters again, and hit a huge tree heavily. Leaves fell like rain and covered his head and shoulders in the blink of an eye. He looked even more embarrassed. Why didn't you fight back, King Qin? Si Kongyao walked over on the ice energy. Her eyes were full of coldness. We are destined to be opponents. Why didn't you fight back? With your strength, you should be able to kill me, Si Kongyao. Lin Muyu brushed off the leaves on her shoulder and spat out a mouthful of blood. She smiled miserably and said, I'm injured. I don't have the strength to kill you. Besides, I won't kill you at all. Why? The frost divine power in Si Kongyao's palm surged. She was ready to launch a fatal attack at any time. Lin Muyu struggled to sit up. She leaned against the rotten bark of the ancient tree and looked up at the stars and moon in the sky. Suddenly, she couldn't help but laugh. Her laughter was full of self-mockery. She said in a low voice, Eldest Miss, do you know what the Shattered Cauldron realm is like? I don't know. I don't need to know. Si Kongyao's voice was cold. In the Shattered Cauldron realm, men plow and women weave. Loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and righteousness are emphasized. We have suffered a lot over the years. The Iha Kingdom's mutiny and the demon race's invasion. In order to protect our homeland, my friends and relatives died one by one. Grandpa Lei Hong, Big Brother Chu Huayin, Big Brother Qin Lei Miss Xinxiang, my adoptive father Qin Jin. So many people lost their lives for the empire and their homeland. Finally, the Qin Empire was about to be unified. The people were about to live and work in peace and contentment, but the plain boundary disappeared. Lin Muyu's eyes were full of confusion. She said, My strength is almost at the top in the Shattered Cauldron realm. We have 1 divine king and 5 ultimate gods. But there are 21 sacred martial gods, nearly 100 sacred martial kings, and nearly 1,000 sacred martial warriors in the celestial pole continent. What about our Qin Empire? I can't sleep every night. I'm scared, I'm terrified. Lin Muyu looked at Si Kongyao in a daze and said in a trembling voice, I'm afraid that my friends, the people I love, will scatter with the wind like these leaves. I'm afraid that the land I cherish will wail and cry under the dragon flames of your dragon riders. I'm afraid that I'll let down those who have passed away, that I'll betray the trust they've given their lives. I'm afraid that the world will be torn apart, that everyone will point at me, Lin Muyu, and call me a coward. I had to do it. I had to do it. Si Kongyao stood there in a daze. The ice elemental divine power in her hand was dense, but it did not continue to strengthen. Now do you know why I'm here? Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, The Qin Empire will not sit still and wait for death. The Emperor of the Tianji Empire has already mobilized his troops to fight with us. Since he wants to fight, the Qin Empire will definitely go all out. Si Kongyao looked at him quietly, biting her red lips. Her shoulders trembled slightly. She said, I just want to ask you one thing. Yes, ask. I'm the granddaughter of Si Kongming of the Tianji sect. As long as you kill me, you can put the blame on the Celestial Empire or the Blackstone Empire. If the 3 empires in the Celestial Pole continent are in chaos, it will only be good for the Shattered Cauldron realm. Why don't you do that? You have so many opportunities. Why don't you grasp them? It turned out that Si Kongyao was not stupid. On the surface, she looked bright and innocent, but she was actually very clear about the situation. She could see it much more clearly than anyone else. Lin Muyu let out a bitter laugh. I've thought about it before, but I know that you've never had any intention to kill me. Even now, I can only feel your anger but not your killing intent. You don't want to hurt me, so why would I hurt you? Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. You. You are really the Qin Empress Lin Muyu of the Qin Empire? Yes. Lin Muyu gently opened her palm and shouted in a low voice without holding anything back. Suddenly, the spirit beads of law started spinning in her palm. There were a total of 12 beads, and they were vigorous and magnificent. Si Kongyao was stunned. These are the spirit beads of law. Yes, 12 in total. Lin Muyu pointed at her forehead with her left hand and said, There is a sovereign lattice here. Do you need any other proof? There's no need. The cold air in Si Kongyao's palm dissipated. She seemed to have lost all her strength and knelt on the ground. She looked at Lin Muyu and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't really want to hurt you. It's okay. I don't blame you. You probably can't accept the fact that I'm a foreigner. No, Si Kongyao shook her head, bit her red lips and said, I grew up in the Tianji sect. The empire's emperor Baiming Yuan holds the Tianji sect in high esteem. The majority of the empire's cultivation resources are given to the Tianji sect. Baiming Yuan even treats me, the eldest miss of the Tianji sect, like his own daughter. I'm afraid he treats me better than all of his daughters. Now I can't kill the person who poses the greatest threat to him. Things may not be as you think. Lin Muyu looked up at the starry sky and said, Baiming Yuan needs the Tianji sect to train more sacred warriors for him, so that they can fight on the front lines of the Tianji Empire in the future. Therefore, he will definitely treat you well. Eldest miss, if he really treats you like his own daughter, has he ever combed your hair even once? No. Si Kongyao murmured. I know a father. He's an emperor, but he often combs his daughter's hair. He gave up everything for his daughter, including his life. That's what a father should be like. Lin Muyu's mind was filled with the images of Qin Jin and Qin Yin. She could not help but feel a lump in her throat and almost burst into tears. She had almost given up everything for this father and daughter. What a great obsession. Actually, I know that this is just an exchange of benefits. It's just that Si Kongyao frowned slightly and said, It's just that I really can't imagine it. If I become friends with you, it would be a betrayal to the Tianji Empire. I really can't do it. Cough, cough. Lin Muyu coughed violently a few times. The gauze on her shoulder was dark red. The injury she had suffered during the day had burst open because of Si Kongyao's attack. Are you okay? Si Kongyao crawled a few steps on her knees and checked on Lin Muyu's injury. Her eyes turned red. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It's not your fault. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. I asked for this. If I hadn't come to the celestial pole continent, I probably wouldn't have gotten myself into such a sorry state. I could have lived a few more years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. If you hadn't come, you wouldn't have been able to know me. Si Kongyao sniffled and looked at him with red eyes. Oh? What does that mean? Yeah, I got it. Lin Muyu smiled. She looked down at the layer of fallen leaves on the ground and said, In the Shattered Cauldron realm, I have an adopted elder sister called Chu Yao. And you are called Si Kongyao. Actually, it can be said that we are quite fated. Si Kongyao couldn't help but laugh. She put her hands on the ground and looked up with a smile. If Chu Yao is your elder sister, then what about me? Perhaps you are more like a younger sister? Lin Muyu looked down at her. Younger sister? I don't have an elder brother. I never had one. Si Kongyao muttered to herself. Do you really think of me as a younger sister? Yes, even though this younger sister beat me up so badly a few seconds ago. I'm sorry, Si Kongyao pouted. I will make it up to you. Really? Yes. Si Kongyao nodded and said, As long as you are my elder brother, I can do anything for you. Of course, this matter can't be too excessive. Okay, Lin Muyu smiled. Her eyes also became charming. She sat up straight and said, I just happen to have something that I want to ask Yao for help with. Oh, what is it? Stay in the Blackstone Empire and help Liu Bai manage the Pishio mercenary band. Rely on your connections in the Tianji sect to rope in talents to join the Pishio mercenary band. Quickly annex the surrounding mercenaries and unify the entire Blackstone Empire's mercenary world. After that, attack the cities and territories so that the Blackstone Empire can't split itself, and attack the Shattered Cauldron realm. At this point, Lin Muyu's eyes lit up. With your roping skills and status, it definitely won't be a problem. Ah. Si Kongyao's mouth opened wide. How can I do that? If I stay in the Blackstone Empire, what about the Tianji sect? Moreover, if the Pishio mercenary band attacks the cities and territories, it will be equivalent to a rebellion. Do you want me, your younger sister, to rebel? Don't forget that I'm the future leader of the Tianji sect. I know. Lin Muyu nodded and changed the way she addressed her. She said, Yao, you can hide behind the scenes and continuously rope in talents for the Pishio mercenary band. Leave the real fighting to Lu Bai. He will be the bad guy, and you will be in charge of the military power. In this way, no one will know that Si Kongyao is the real leader of this mercenary band. Alright, Si Kongyao bit her red lips. Her eyes flickered with difficulty. She said, but you have to promise me one thing. Yes, tell me. No matter what, I will definitely not use force against the Tianji sect and the Tianji Empire. This is my final bottom line. I promise you. Also, say it. If you can reverse the situation, please let the commoners of the Tianji Empire go. They are innocent. Yes, I have never used force against commoners in my life. Don't worry. Lin Muyu was relieved. She leaned against the tree and couldn't help but smile. That's great, that's great. With your help, Yao, the matter of the Blackstone Empire is basically settled. When I return to the Shattered Cauldron realm, I will be able to command the upcoming war without any distractions. Brother, are you leaving? Si Kongyao looked disappointed. Yes, I will be leaving the Celestial Pole mainland soon. The Shattered Cauldron realm is my real home. Doesn't that mean I won't be able to see you for a long time? We will see each other again. Lin Muyu patted Si Kongyao's shoulder and said, Don't say these useless things. Listen carefully. I will now impart the cultivation methods of the stellar art and the spirit refinement art to you. The stellar art is forceful and overbearing. It is my unique art. The spirit refinement art has great benefits for cultivating Godhead. If you use the spirit refinement art to cultivate demon spirit stones, you will get twice the result with half the effort. Ah. Si Kongyao sat there blankly. At this moment, she felt that Lin Muyu really treated her as a younger sister. If they weren't close relatives, why would she impart all her martial arts to her? The stellar art and the spirit refinement art were the two most profound martial arts of Lin Muyu. As for the 7 luminaries, it was too overbearing. A woman's physique couldn't bear it at all. Only men could use it. Chapter 786. Dang. 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 The ringing of the bell reverberated between the thousands of pavilions in the Zetian Palace Hall. Stone walls carved with dragon carvings lined both sides of the square. In the center, there was a path decorated with gems and a red carpet. There was a royal guard every 3 steps and a royal guard every 20 steps. In the center, there was a row of civil and military officials holding jade tablets in their hands, slowly walking on the path in front of the Zetian Palace Hall. After the officials entered the palace, a group of royal guards slowly closed the golden door. Clang. The moment the door closed, everyone was stunned. They looked up and saw a beautiful young lady sitting on the throne. She had a graceful figure, and was none other than the Fugua Junju, Tang Xiaoxi. Qin Yan and Feng Jixing were wearing the king's cloak, standing on the left and right. Although they were the 3 kings, they seemed to have tacitly acknowledged Tang Xiaoxi's real power. Feng Jixing stepped forward on the gold-plated steps and said loudly, Lords, I think everyone has heard the news from the east. The celestial pole continent is gathering warships. At this moment, nearly 10,000 warships are docked on the other side of the ocean, and their vanguard is aimed at our Qin Empire. We are under the orders of Her Highness the Empress, and we must fight for the Empire to the end. The group of military officials clenched their fists and growled, Fight to the end. However, Zhen Yifan smiled and said, This time, Prince Xian ordered all officials above the 4th rank to come to Zetian Palace. I think it's not as simple as this. Haha, Lord Fan is a prophet. Indeed, it's not like that. It's better for Princess Shi to announce this matter. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi stood up lightly. Her clear and beautiful face was tender and alluring. and there was not a hint of impurity in her starry eyes. It was as if she could see through everything in the world. Her red lips parted slightly as she said, "Although Lanyan City is the imperial capital, it's 3,000 miles away from the eastern coastline. It's very troublesome to transport resources and convey military orders. Therefore, Prince Xian and Prince Zhong, I've decided to establish another capital in the eastern province." "Set up a capital?" Zhen Yifan was stunned. "Yes." Immediately, an old official walked out of the ranks and knelt on both knees. "Your Highnesses and Princess Shi, please reconsider. Lanyan City has been the imperial capital since ancient times. Wherever the Emperor Star goes, once the capital is moved, it will affect the foundation of the country. Lord Morong worries too much." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "Not to move the capital, but to decide on another capital. Lanyan City will be the imperial capital, and the new capital will be the eastern capital. Once the eastern capital has been decided, the 6 ministries of the empire and all the department deployments will be moved to the eastern capital. There is no need to discuss this matter further. What I want to ask is which city is more suitable to be the eastern capital." Xiang Yu's hand was on the hilt of his sword, and his brows were tightly furrowed as he pondered. "Duke Yu has something to say?" Qin Yin asked. Xiang Yu nodded. "I suggest that Linghan City be the eastern capital. Linghan City is rich in resources, and is close to the East Sea. Whether it is population, farmland or commercial prosperity, it is second to none among the 3 eastern provinces." The generals knelt down at the same time. "We second the motion." They were all Xiang Yu's men, and they were all former subordinates of the Seven Seas Tang sect army. "Linghan City?" Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and smiled. "I'm afraid that's not appropriate." "What's not appropriate?" "Although Linghan City is prosperous, it is separated from the north by the Qinling Mountains, a natural stronghold. Once Linghan City is attacked, it will be very difficult for Lanyan City and Five Valleys City to provide aid. It will take a lot of time to transport large amounts of resources and troops through the Qinling Mountains. Therefore, I think we should choose a city in the north of the Qinling Mountains as the eastern capital." Feng Jixing's words were reasonable, and Xiang Yu could not say anything more. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness Prince Xian is right." The officials looked at each other, and no one said anything else. After nearly half a minute, the old official Zheng Yifan finally said, "I think we should choose Dongshuang City. This city used to be the garrison of the valiant Dragon Legion. Later on, it was remodeled by His Highness Prince Qin. The area of the city has been expanded by 3 times. The mineral resources of the Iron Helmet Mountain have also been extracted and smelted in large quantities. It can provide weapons and armor for the Imperial Army." Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. "I agree with Duke Fan." Qin Yan also smiled and nodded. "I also think that Dongshuang City is the most suitable." Feng Jixing raised his head and said, "Dongshuang City will be the eastern capital. We will choose a day to move the 3 armies and 6 departments to Dongshuang City. Are there any objections?" Everyone knelt on the ground. On the 2nd of March, 7742, the Qin Empire set the eastern capital at Dongshuang City. The 3 armies and 6 departments began to move on the same day. The Imperial Guards, and Imperial Guards were all mobilized, leaving only 20,000 Imperial Guards to guard Yinyulan City. At the same time, military orders were sent to Qihai Province, Yunzhong Province, Earthstar Province, Swift White Province, and so on. The garrisons of all the major provinces were mobilized and headed to Lingdong Province to prepare for war. In the Imperial Garden of Zetian Palace, when the green trees were sprouting, snowflakes were falling from the sky. "It's March." Tang Xiaoxi looked up at the snow in the sky, exhaled a breath of hot air, and said, "When will Mumu come back?" "He will come back when he wants to. We don't have to worry." Feng Jixing walked up the corridor with his hand on the hilt of his saber. He smiled and said, "Princess Shi, you don't have to worry too much. Yu cares more about the future of the empire than any of us. He will definitely come back before the war officially starts." Tang Xiaoxi turned around and leaped, sitting leisurely on the mahogany railing of the attic. The falling snow around her made her look like a fiery flower in a sea of snow. General Feng, is there any news from afar? Have the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire come? She was still used to calling Feng Jixing General Feng. It was as if she was still living in the past. At that time, Qin Jin and Qin Yin were still around. Lin Muyu was the commander of the Longdan army camp. Feng Jixing was the commander of the Imperial Guards. They all had their own duties and drank and played the zither when they had nothing to do. Everything was as beautiful as a dream. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes reddened. She couldn't help but raise her face, afraid that her tears would fall. Not yet. Feng Jixing said. Our war eagles and messenger birds are constantly flying over the sea. The news they brought back is almost the same. Most of the troops of the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire are gathered by the coast. They will only set off when their warships and resources are ready. However, it seems that they will need at least half a year to finish their preparations. Is there any news from the north? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Yes. About 200,000 demons have entered the snowy wastelands. Wei Chou is leading the Longdan army camp to guard the 8 wastelands. The demons have really been completely expelled from the mainland. Then, Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips and suddenly asked, what about the territories north of the 8 wastelands? Do we have any news from there? No. Feng Jixing shook his head and said, north of the 8 wastelands is the frozen polar region. It snows all year round and is extremely cold. According to the temperature rules set by the Fire Sparrow Division, it is minus 40 degrees Celsius. Breath will turn into ice. Moreover, there is no food in the polar region. The snow that is several meters high makes it impossible for people to travel. Therefore, we haven't sent any scouts into the polar region. Tang Xiaoxi's bright eyes looked at Feng Jixing and said, I have a bad feeling about this. Why? I don't know. She nodded and said, it's just a hunch. How many troops does the Tianji Empire have? According to the news from you, they have a total of 800,000 troops. Then, how many people have gathered along the coast? Nearly 300,000. Feng Jixing frowned and said, in addition to the troops stationed in the 4 provinces of the Tianji Empire, they have about 400,000 troops. From what we can see, they have 700,000 troops. What else is Princess Shi doubting? Tang Xiaoxi said, but General Feng, don't forget that Mu also said that they are recruiting troops on a large scale. They started a few months ago. With the prosperity of the Tianji Empire, it shouldn't be a problem to recruit hundreds of thousands of troops in a short period of time, right? Moreover, we have only spied on the situation of their troops. As far as I know, our spies have seen the main forces of the Yinji army and Lanji army of the 4 major armies of the Tianji Empire. However, the main forces of the other 2, the Longji army and the Liuji army, are missing. The most important thing now is to find out the location of these 2 major armies. Feng Jixing sweated profusely and said, Princess Shi, you mean they may have other preparations? Yes. Where will they attack from? I don't know. Tang Xiaoxi frowned and said, this is also what I am confused about. Could it be the icebound pole in the north? No way, ordinary people can't survive in the icebound pole at all. Yes, Feng Jixing clenched his fist and said, don't think so much. Princess Shi, please arrange the marching plan for the Imperial Army's migration this afternoon. I will go to the dock at Daojiang in the afternoon to see how the preparations for the ship are going. Yes, go ahead. The Imperial Garden was silent. The falling snow made it seem even more desolate. Tang Xiaoxi opened her hands and caught the snowflakes. However, they melted in the blink of an eye. She suddenly wanted to cry. I can't hold it. I can't hold it. The land of exile, Flying Cloud Valley. It was called a valley, but it was actually a plain in the middle of the valley. It was several dozen miles wide and was very vast. At this time, the sky above Flying Cloud Valley was covered with dark clouds as if a storm was coming. However, no one avoided this upcoming storm because if they did, they would miss a chance to see the king. Ugly humans with scabies on their heads stood on the hillside, waving their arms one after another. Their bodies exuded the stench of not bathing for a few years. They roared as if they were crazy. Dark Moon King! Dark Moon King! The valley was filled with people. Perhaps it wasn't a crowd because there were not only humans, there were also beastmen and mutants that had been mutated by the genetic radiation. Hua, hua, hua. Orderly footsteps sounded out as the crowd moved aside. This was an army, a strong army equipped with crossbows, source energy guns and flamethrowers. There were close to 5,000 people, and the sound of engines rumbled as chariots slowly moved forward under the protection of the army. At the very center was a giant chariot that was close to 10 meters tall. Its 3-meter radius wheels seemed like they could crush everything as they slowly crushed the rocks and rotten bones in the valley. Dark Moon King. Dark Moon King. Everyone became even crazier. On top of the chariot, a beautiful figure stood there. A short skirt made of a special material wrapped around her alluring figure. She wore a short and tattered cloak that fluttered in the wind, and her long hair draped over her shoulders. Her beautiful face looked extremely elegant under the light of the setting sun. Chapter 787. Behind the chariot was a 100-meter-long trailer, and inside it lay the corpse of a giant beast. The giant beast's body was crisscrossed with crisscrossing sword marks. The most fatal sword strike had severed its throat, and there were traces of blackened blood beneath the unknown rock-like skin. This giant beast was none other than one of the lords of the banished lands. His name was Mischievous Rock, and his nickname was Indestructible. For tens of thousands of years, no one in the banished lands had ever been able to harm Mischievous Rock. But this time he encountered the Dark Moon King. Not only was he injured, he even lost his life. Clang, clang, clang. The trailer shook with time, bringing Mischievous Rock's body up and down. The residents of the land of exile on the hillside in the distance were dumbfounded as they said, "That's the corpse of the Mischievous Rock King. My God, such a powerful orc leader was killed, and by the Dark Moon King who looks so petite." A young hiker with a face full of ulcers looked up and murmured, "The Dark Moon King is so beautiful. If I can get a kiss from her, it'll be worth it even if I die." "Do you want to die?" Two soldiers kicked him in the abdomen and shouted in a low voice, "Do you know what the consequences of blaspheming the Dark Moon King are? It's death, and now you've chosen this path." The crossbow was raised, and the young hiker was about to be shot to death. But at this moment an angelic voice came from the sky, "Forget it, don't bother with him. It's her." The young hiker climbed up from the ground and looked up. The afterglow of the setting sun made that unbelievably beautiful face look especially holy. The girl only looked at him, and did not turn around to inspect her other territories. "I must be dreaming," he murmured to himself. Howl. It was a dragon covered in red dragon scales. Its body was very long, and it coiled around the bottom of the chariot. Its huge head was rubbing against the Dark Moon King's snow-white arm, and it squinted its eyes like a spoiled child. When the Dark Moon King caressed its chin, the dragon's bones seemed to have softened. It knelt down on the bottom of the chariot and wagged its tail lazily. How is he now?" the girl asked. "Awoo-awoo." A catasaurus winked as it spoke. "Oh." The corner of the girl's mouth curled up into a beautiful smile. "It's good that you're fine. Is the god of that plane really that powerful? A mere mercenary leader can actually condense 52 grotto heavens?" Howl. A catasaurus's head. The girl frowned slightly. "Let me ask you another question." A catasaurus wagged its tail, and seemed very excited as it waited for the question. The girl wanted to say something but hesitated. After a while she asked, "Is what you said true? He's my boyfriend?" A catasaurus nodded repeatedly. "This is his sword." The girl unsheathed the stellar sword from her waist. Her expression was a little lonely as she said, "I thought I was a nameless person, but you actually said that I have such an identity. If it really is him, why don't I have any spiritual connection with him?" A catasaurus curled itself into a ball and whimpered. It obviously didn't know how to answer this question. It looked like an ostrich with its head buried in the ground. The girl couldn't be bothered to ask it anymore. At this moment, a leader riding on a battle beast galloped over and rushed onto the chariot. He dismounted and knelt on the ground, saying respectfully, "Your Majesty, we'll reach King Pashan's territory in another 20 miles. Our scouts have already informed us that he's preparing for war, and he's killed everyone in 3 small towns along the way. It seems like he wants to fortify the walls and clear out the fields, leaving us with no food. Soldiers can't fight on empty stomachs. What should we do now? The girl's expression was indifferent, and she looked at the cart. How long can this corpse last for 5,000 people? The leader was dumbfounded. You mean, you want us to eat King Wancher's corpse? What else? The girl laughed. Do you think I gave the order to bring Wancher's corpse here just to show off to Pashan? That's too simple. But the leader hesitated. After all, Wancher was once a king. It's blasphemy for us to eat his corpse. According to the rules of the banished lands, if we do that, the girl interrupted him. Are there rules in the banished lands? There's no need to say anything else. Pass down my order. We're to set up camp 10 miles ahead of us. We're to cook stubborn rock's meat and advance only after we're full. We're to launch an attack tomorrow morning and force Pashan out of his tortoise shell. She caressed Acatosaurus's head and asked, Do you have any other questions? The leader looked at Acatosaurus and felt his heart tremble. The dragon was looking at him as if he was an ant. He nodded and said, I understand. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We'll definitely conquer Pashan's turtle city and let him die a horrible death. When that time comes, Your Majesty will be the true king of the banished lands. Go. Yes. The next morning, the banished lands were filled with the sound of drums. Tortoise City was a city built with pitch-black rocks. It was originally built on top of a small town, but after monarch Pashan settled in, Tortoise City was slowly built up. There were military camps, taverns, gambling dens, and many others. The travelers of the exiled lands would return to Tortoise City to rest after they were done hunting. The banished lands also had their own rules. Anyone who was in the sovereign's territory had to abide by the rules. They were not allowed to kill or fight. Otherwise, no matter who it was, they would not hesitate to be asked to leave by the army and be abandoned in the wilderness. It was just a single move, yet the disparity between sovereign king-level experts had reached such a level. Bang! Pashan's corpse fell to the ground, stirring up dust. Your Majesty. The leader hurried over on his beast mount. His face was pale. Pashan said that everyone in Turtle Mountain City has been infected with the plague. What should we do? Fill the gates of Turtle Mountain with firewood and seal the city. Use up all our cannons and turn the city into ashes. The girl said lightly. But Your Majesty, there are many innocent people there. If you have a better idea, I'll listen to you. Yes, Your Majesty. A raging fire burned, and Turtle Mountain City was reduced to ruins in the blink of an eye. Above the clouds, behind the wall of light stood 2 people. They were Cheyenne and Merlin. She's ruthless and daring. Merlin frowned. She killed Pashan in 1 strike. The Dark Moon Lord's strength has reached at least the 40th layer of the Grotto Heaven level. Moreover, she used Light-type Maxim divine power. She's a rare talent. I've misjudged her before. She was able to reach this level in such a short time. She'll surely stand out in the chosen trial. Cheyenne remained silent. Your Majesty Cheyenne, what are you thinking? Oh, Cheyenne responded softly. I'm thinking that if I bring her back to participate in the chosen trial, will my position as a seraph be challenged? Ha 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 ha. Even you are afraid of her? At this moment, a powerful force suddenly flew toward them. It was a beam of light on the ground. Clang. The star's sword slashed heavily on the wall of light. The wall of light instantly cracked. The Dark Moon Lord's merciless eyes stared at the wall of light. Come out. You've been following me for many days. It's time to let me know who you are, right? Chapter 788. Cheyenne furrowed her brows and showed a hint of displeasure on her face. How dare you offend me like this? She's just a rookie who has just lost her divine power. Let me teach her a lesson. Merlin's voice was cold. A light sword slowly materialized in his hand, and the 4 light wings on his back suddenly spread open. Without waiting for Cheyenne's consent, he dashed out. As if appearing out of thin air, After Merlin appeared from behind the light wall, a powerful territory swept toward him. Time and space almost froze. Merlin slowly raised his light sword and smiled faintly. Do you know the consequences of offending the radiant angel of the heavenly realm? Of course the girl did not know. Swoosh. The star's sword slashed out with violent and vigorous divine power. A sword light that was almost 1,000 meters long appeared in the air. It was as if it was going to split the sky. The sword light went straight for Merlin's head. Ha! Merlin was slightly startled. He could not help but look angry. You're asking for death. With a wave of his palm, the power of light particles was waved away by Merlin like ribbons. In the blink of an eye, it formed a dazzling light shield in front of him. Boom! The sky seemed to explode. Moving with his shadow, Merlin made a brazen attack. The light sword with the 95 levels of the Grotto Heaven's divine power fell on the girl's star's sword. Clang! The star's sword was almost knocked away. The girl groaned in pain. Blood splattered from her nostrils and mouth. The difference in strength was too great. Her tattered cloak fluttered in the wind. She did not give up on her attack. The sharp horn on her forehead was particularly ferocious, and a pair of fangs was revealed in her mouth. She reached out and grabbed Merlin's strong arm. Then she attached herself to Merlin's back like a demon spirit. She raised her sharp claws and struck the main artery in her opponent's neck. Bang! A blood-red light splashed. She had only hit Merlin's god wall. Whoosh! She opened her small mouth abruptly, revealing her fangs that glowed with blood-red light. She aimed another vicious bite at Merlin's neck. She knew that the opponent before her was very strong, so she could only unleash her most primitive, wild instincts to fight him. Uffed. This time, those sharp fangs actually pierced 2 tiny holes in the indestructible god wall. Merlin let out a miserable groan and hurriedly shook his arms, shouting, "Get out of my way!" Hong hong hong. The airwaves surged with his spirit as the core, blowing the young girl away like a broken leaf. Merlin, on the other hand, was furious out of humiliation. "I'm going to kill you, you disobedient be***starred. Merlin, stop." It was Shi Yan's voice. Her gaze was gentle as she looked at the young girl floating in the wind. "Don't be afraid, I am Shi Yan, an angel from the Western Divine Realm." Congratulations, you have already been chosen by the Western Divine Realm to participate in the trial of the chosen of gods. Once you pass the trial, you will be able to obtain the blessing and obtain the wings of an angel. Right now, what you need to do is to give up resisting and follow us back to the Western Divine Realm. Don't worry, no one will harm you. Hiss hiss. The young girl blinked her demonic spirit eyes and revealed a fierce expression. It was as if she would kill Shi Yan with all her might if she were to come near. Sigh. Shi Yan sighed and suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, she appeared behind the young girl without a sound. Her 5 fingers turned into knives and lightly struck the back of the young girl's head. 99 layers of golden airwaves surged, and the young girl fell softly with a whimper. Shi Yan took advantage of the situation and hugged the young girl in her arms. Looking at the bloodstains on the young girl's face, Shi Yan could not help but feel sorry for her. She said, "A lord who came from the banished land is destined to be a strong person. Don't worry, I'm here in the future. I won't let you experience such painful memories again. You will become one of the angels that the Western Divine Realm can be proud of." "Great Lady Shi Yan." Merlin frowned and said, "This woman is not simple. The demonic energy she just used was actually able to penetrate my god's wall. If I'm not wrong, she's the legendary Shura, neither human nor ghost nor god. She wandered the 3 realms and became a cruel killer. How could the Western Divine Realm choose such a person to participate in the Chosen One trial?" "Is that so?" The wings and cloak behind Shi Yan fluttered lightly. Her gaze was calm as she smiled. "Then what do you plan to do? We are the rulers of the Divine Realm. It is our duty to maintain peace between the heavens and the earth. And Shura should be killed. If I were to use my method, it would be better to chop off her head and absorb her godhead. With this godhead, I'll use it to reconstruct a spiritual body. Her divine power ripples are so strong. It should at least be a cast immortal. Don't waste it." "Is that so?" Shi Yan smiled. She was still holding the girl in her arms. "Merlin, You're not someone with the power of God's strategy. You can't see through people's hearts, so you don't know how much pain she has suffered. However, I can see it. I can see some of her memory fragments. I can feel her pain so. Her gaze turned cold as she said, "From now on, if you dare to have any thoughts of killing her, be careful that I kill you. Don't think that the ruler will speak up for you. There are only 2 blazing angels in the entire Western God realm, me and little baby, but there are more than 100 radiant angels. Do you think that Claude will choose to believe you or me? I'm warning you. You want to kill her because she can break through your divine wall. Her future achievements will be higher than yours. I advise you to give up on this idea." Merlin was startled. "Lady Xian, you are a radiant angel, 1 level higher than me. I will naturally listen to you. However, I, Merlin, am not an alarmist. This woman is a Shura and is not a good person. Moreover, she only has killing and revenge in her heart. Such a person will sooner or later become a scourge in the Western divine realm. That is all I have to say. I hope Lady Xian knows what to do." Xian raised her eyebrows and looked at him coldly. Her beautiful face was filled with anger. "Are you warning me? If you are, I can kill you in the banished land. No one will know. If not, you better apologize." "You." Merlin gritted his teeth and bowed respectfully. "Lady Xian, I know my mistake. Please punish me. Forget it. Return to the divine realm. Pretend that nothing happened here." "Yes." Then. Merlin looked at the ground. There was still a large group of travelers from the banished land who had been subdued by the Dark Moon King. Among them, there was no lack of strong leaders. He said, "What about the Dark Moon King's subordinates? There are almost 10,000 of them. Will these people see through the secret of reincarnation and come to the divine realm for revenge? Then what do you want to do?" Xian asked lightly. Merlin revealed a murderous intent again. "Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Kill this group of people, and let the Dark Moon King cultivate in the divine realm in peace. What do you think, Lady Xian?" Xian's eyes showed deep disappointment. She smiled faintly. "Merlin, do you know what an angel is? An angel is an angel. Do you know why your realm has been stagnant for tens of thousands of years? You entered the ranks of the God Emperor 100,000 years earlier than me. Why?" This time, Merlin was a little nervous. Xian smiled faintly. "Because an angel is only a clergy. We exist because of our faith. We are compassionate, and we save all the suffering in the world. If you have lost the thought of compassion and justice, and only think of killing and power, how can someone like you see through the mysteries of the 99 heaven?" Merlin was silent. After a few seconds he said, "I understand. Thank you, Lady Xian, for pointing it out. Don't talk so much. Return to the divine realm with me." Yes. When she woke up, she did not know when or where she was. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on a warm bed with a soft quilt covering her body. She could not remember how long it had been since she had such a soft quilt. There was no cotton in the banished land, let alone quilts. Most of the quilts were made of linen. It was like a shroud covering her body. There was no comparison at all. This was a room with green bricks and green tiles. Beside the bed was a huge floor-to-ceiling window. Sunlight shone in from outside. "Sunlight," she murmured. The sunlight here was completely different from the sunlight in the banished land. She stretched out her palm. When her 5 fingers came into contact with the sunlight, she felt a burning pain. "Ah!" She hurriedly withdrew her fingers in pain. She saw that her fingertips were grayish-black, but they were slowly turning back to white. The body of Ashura cannot directly withstand the light of the divine realm. The blazing sun of the divine realm gathers the purest light divine power between heaven and earth. A voice came from afar. The voice came from a hall connected to the small room. A graceful woman was sitting there, tasting the thick soup. She smiled in satisfaction and said, "The grouper soup of the holy lake is indeed delicious." "Who are you?" The girl sat up, but found that she was not wearing any clothes. She felt a faint swelling pain at the back of her head. The beautiful woman in the hall stood up. Her slender legs were wearing exquisite leather boots, and she was wearing a chain-short skirt. She was obviously a practitioner. Her eyes were deep as she smiled. My name is Xian. I am one of the blazing angels in charge of the Western Divine Realm. I am also your direct superior. Congratulations, from now on, you are a member of the Western Divine Realm. The girl looked at her and said indifferently, It seems that you did not ask for my permission. Do I still need to ask for permission? Xian smiled beautifully and generously. You can't even take a single blow from me, so there is no need to ask for permission. Besides, the Banished Land is only one of the most insignificant places in the lower realm. With your talent, it would be a waste to stay in the Banished Land. In the Western Divine Realm, you will be trained and become one of the strongest gods. The only thing we need you to do is to pledge loyalty to Lord Claude. What if I don't agree? Xian smiled again. She raised her finger elegantly and snapped it. Die. The girl thought for a few seconds. I agree. Hee, that's right. Let's go. Change into a new set of clothes. I will take you to sign up for the Chosen God trial. Thank you. Chapter 789. It was a set of clothes from the Divine Realm. It was no longer made of linen, but rather an unknown brocade. It was somewhat similar to satin. The shirt and cloak on Xian's body should be made of this material. It looked very elegant and beautiful. The girl caressed the clothes. The material was similar to Xian's clothes, but the style was completely different. It was just a simple short skirt and upper garment. It should be the difference in rank. Stop looking. Xian smiled faintly and said, My clothes are specially made according to the rank of a blazing angel. Yours is just the clothes of a female divine servant. You have just entered the Western Divine Realm, and have almost nothing. If you want to wear better clothes, then prove your strength to everyone. Okay. The girl nodded and began to wear her clothes. Xian stared at her perfect figure, and as Xian stared, she suddenly pursed her lips, revealing a trace of displeasure. She was jealous. The curves of the other party's figure were like heaven's work, extremely perfect, even slightly better than her own. All right, let's go. Take this with you. Xian raised her hand and threw the stellar sword. With a paw sound, the girl caught the stellar sword. There was a strange yet familiar feeling. She couldn't help but become more calm. She smiled and nodded. Yes, Lady Xian. After walking out of the room, she discovered that the outside was very spacious, and there wasn't just one house. A large number of houses were located here, and there was a bridge in the air in front of them. The bridge was made of stone bricks, and it stood in the air without any support. It was connected to the land on the other side, and the green mountains and clear waters of the land were actually suspended in the air. The young girl was secretly amazed. Was this the legendary Divine Realm? Looking down, there were layers of clouds below the Heaven Realm. Under the layers of clouds, she could vaguely see a continent. This continent should be the Divine Realm. There's no need to think about it. Xian smiled and said, Only high-ranking members of the clergy are qualified to live on the Spirited Mountain. The land you see is only the lowest level of the Divine Realm. Countless mortals and gods with mediocre cultivation stay there to cultivate. If they can't break through, they will have to live at the lowest level for the rest of their lives. The young girl was stunned. She didn't expect that the immortal realm would have such a strict hierarchy. Xian continued, The God's Chosen trial is held once every 100 years, and it is used to select the most outstanding cultivators of the younger generation in the Western God realm. According to the rules, every god who is at or above the level of a radiant angel is given a recommendation. Most people have already given up, and I would normally have given up as well, but this year. Xian looked at her deeply and said, Because I met you so, I decided to make an exception and recommend you to participate in the God's Chosen trial. I was the one who recommended you, so don't lose my Xian's face. Understood, Lady Xian. The girl spoke very little, as if she had always been like this. Do you remember who you are now? Xian asked. The girl shook her head. I can't remember. Everything is just fragments of my memory. I can't connect them at all. Lady Xian is someone with the power of divine strategy, and can see through people's minds. Whether I can remember or not, you should know very well, right? Xian couldn't help but smile. Yes, that's right. I'm sorry. I didn't want to see through your mind. I just wanted to see what you were thinking out of habit. Oh right, if you don't have a name, you can't participate in the God's chosen trial because you can't register at all. Do you remember your name? I don't remember. All right, I'll give you a new name now. Follow me. You'll be called Xiyin, right? Thank you, Lady Xiyan, for giving me a name. You're welcome. Let's go. Across the bridge is the largest trial in the Western Divine Realm. Yes. To prevent her from being hurt by the sunlight, Xiyan summoned dense clouds in the sky. Just as Xiyan said, this trial was built on top of a spiritual mountain. Although it was called a mountain, the training grounds were almost all over the spiritual mountain. There were hundreds of trial halls alone. Xiyan leaped up and flew into the air. The girl also followed. In the blink of an eye, the two of them landed in front of the trial hall. A group of two-winged angel guards wearing black armor bowed respectfully. Greetings, Lady Xiyan. No need to be so polite. Open the door. I brought someone to register for the God's chosen trial. Yes. With a creaking sound, the door covered in carving slowly opened. The inside was empty. Xiyan walked in and smiled. No need to be nervous. Come in. The girl followed closely behind. I was wondering where you came from. So it's Blazing Angel Xiyan. This old man greets you, lady. The main hall was empty except for a round table in the middle. Around it were more than 10 white-haired old men dressed in dark blue robes. They were probably the clergy of the Western Divine Realm. One of them, an old man holding a walking stick, bowed in a trembling manner. Xiyan smiled. Lord Lugu, no need to be so polite. This is? Lugu's sleepy eyes fell on the girl. Oh, her name is Xiyin. She's the person I recommended to participate in the God's chosen trial. Oh, is that so? Lugu carefully looked at the girl and said, Xiyin, what a nice name. Come, write her name on the register. Xiyin turned around and sat down on a chair, crossing her two long legs high, and said with a smile, Sir Lugu, how many people are participating in the God's chosen trial this time? Are there a lot of useful people? Lugu respectfully said. Reporting to Lady Xiyan, there are a total of 220 people who have registered. Including Lady Xiyin, there are 221 people. Most of them are experts from various major planes. In addition, the 4 great families have each recommended one person to participate in the God's chosen trial. They are Terralin of the Radiant Clan, Lake of the Dark Light Clan, Zhou Shimin of the Heavenly Hope Clan, and Luo Pei of the Sea Breeze Clan. Terralin is known as the strongest expert of the Radiant Clan's younger generation in the last 500 years. She has already cultivated to the 29th layer of the Heavenly Abode. The other 3 are not far behind. In short, there will be a good show to watch in this God's chosen trial. Xiyan frowned and said, Is there anything else? There is. Lugu said, Lady Xiyan, in your hometown GD14, a new talent has appeared. Her name is Dora. She is a woman who has cultivated to the 44th layer of the Heavenly Abode at the age of 27. However, she is a commoner, so she wants to use this God's chosen trial to become one of the battle angels of the God realm. It is also because of the appearance of this 44th layer of the Heavenly Abode that the 4 great families are very nervous. Almost everyone is very optimistic about her. Humph. Xiyan pursed her red lips and said, Is the training starting tomorrow? Yes. Lugu smiled. Starting from tonight, all the participants can only stay in the trial field until the final victor is decided 10 days later. During this time, the trial field is completely closed and no one is allowed to enter. Even Lord Claude is not allowed to enter. So if Lady Xiyan has something to say to Xiyin, then hurry up and say it. If you are late, you might not have the chance to say it. The girl frowned, not understanding the deeper meaning of Lugu's words. However, as a blazing angel of the Western Heaven realm, Xiyan naturally understood. The so-called God's chosen trial was actually a method of survival of the fittest. Within 10 days, the losers would be continuously eliminated, and the losers would be very tragic. Being disabled was already considered lucky. According to past practice, the death rate was more than 80%, and most of the losers would die and nothing else. In the end, the top 10 winners would be decided, and according to their performance, they would be given the qualifications to become battle angels. Battle angels were divided into 7 levels. A level 7 battle angel could obtain the inheritance of 4 wings if they broke through again, but since ancient times, there were not many people who could successfully break through. Otherwise, the Western divine realm would have long been overrun with 4-winged angels, and Claude would probably be grinning from ear to ear. If there were another 10,000 4-winged angels, Claude would definitely declare war on East Heaven and destroy the forces of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, he could only think like this and did not have such a chance. Lugu smiled. Madame Xiyan, you are a blazing angel, one of the leaders. You have immunity. Do you need us to give you a way out and let you live? This, Xiyan muttered to herself. Her beautiful eyes looked deeply at the girl beside her. Then she shook her head. There is no need for special treatment. I am very clear about Xiyan's strength. Even without any special treatment, she can still walk out of the trial unharmed. Ha ha ha, Lugu laughed shakily. All right then. As expected of someone that Madame Xiyan has taken a liking to, then we will treat her as an equal and do as Madame Xiyan said. And all right. Xiyan stood up and put her hands on the girl's shoulders. With a deep gaze she said, Xiyan, do your best. I will always pay attention to you. Don't let me down. Walk out of the trial and become a battle angel. In addition, you need to cultivate the power of the law of light to overcome your own flaws. You know best what kind of existence you are. The girl nodded. She knew that she was an Azura, a person who could not withstand the power of light. Moreover, all the competitors in the trial were cultivators of the law of light. This was a bit too much for her. However, there was naturally a secret hidden in the depths of her heart. That secret was hidden in the depths of her EC. The small light law spirit bead that lingered around her divine spark was a secret that even Xiyan could not see through. Then come with me. A burly man walked forward and respectfully bowed to Xiyan. I am the instructor here. Miss Xiyan, please come with me. I will take you to the dormitory area. Your trial will begin at 10 o'clock sharp tonight. The girl nodded and followed him into the trial field. She did not even look back. Xiyan heaved a sigh. She did not rely on him at all. Whether this was a good thing or a bad thing, no one knew. Chapter 790. In the training field, there were altar-style buildings, and there were many guards. Judging from the aura, there were many God King level powerhouses among these guards, and the instructor leading the way in front had steady steps and a long breath. With every step he took, he could faintly create a divine power impact, a total of 55 waves. The girl walked quietly, but in her heart, she was thinking about what her chances of winning would be if she fought with this instructor. Perhaps if she used the celestial dragon crystal, she would have a 40% chance of winning, but if she hid her cultivation of the law of light and only fought with the power of Shura, she might not even have a 10% chance of winning. Fortunately, this instructor did not comprehend the power of divine strategy, so he did not know the thoughts of the contestant behind him. Okay, your dormitory is here. The instructor suddenly opened an iron door. Inside was a row of beds, a total of 12, which meant that there were a total of 12 people living in this room. The moment the iron door was opened, 10 pairs of eyes looked over at the same time. It seemed that everyone was looking forward to who the last contestant in the dormitory would be. But when they saw it, they all looked a little disappointed, even contemptuous. There was no other reason. The clothes of the last contestant was only a god servant, which meant that she was the lowest level existence in the realm of gods, but she was actually so beautiful that even women felt jealous. Go in, the instructor urged. Eat on time at 8 p.m., then get ready to start the training. Your daily necessities are ready. They are beside the bed. Thank you. The girl walked over silently. Her bed was the innermost one, the bedding was ready, and daily necessities were placed on the table next to it. At the same time, she also noticed that there was a girl in a beautiful short skirt sitting on the bed closest to her, somewhat similar to Xiyan's attire. She did not look at her from beginning to end, but her name was written on her bed, Terralyn, a contestant of the Light Clan, and also known as the strongest among the younger generation of the Light Clan in 500 years. She did not care about others, just sat down quietly, tidied up her necessities, then leaned against the bed and began to rest. However, the rest of the girls quickly became familiar with each other and started chattering away. Most of them were chosen by their respective families. Not to mention their own status. Due to the power of their families, even if they were eliminated, they would not be killed. Therefore, they naturally did not need to worry about their lives, and their mentality was extremely relaxed. "Hey, what's your name?" Finally, a skinny girl asked her. "Sheen." "Oh, Sheen?" The girl smiled. "What a strange name." In the Western Divine Realm, there aren't many people with names that start with the character she. "Then Sheen, which family recommended you?" Sheen was very calm and replied politely, "It's not the family's recommendation. I was recommended by Lady Xian." "What? Lady Xian?" This sentence was like a stone thrown into a lake, stirring up countless waves. Almost all the girls focused their attention on her, and even Terralyn, who thought highly of herself, glanced at her. It's so strange. Lady Xian has never recommended anyone to participate in the chosen trial for tens of thousands of years. This time, she actually recommended you. Could it be? Xian, you are Lady Xian's sister? No. The girl shook her head and said, "No. Then how did you and Lady Xian meet?" She hesitated for a moment and said, "Lady Xian found me in the land of exile." "What? The land of exile?" The skinny girl was stunned. How is this possible? The land of exile is such a filthy place. How can people there be qualified to participate in the chosen trial? Lady Xian probably thinks that I have some potential. She replied helplessly. Immediately the girls hissed. At this moment, no one looked at her with admiration or respect. What kind of place was the Banished Land? It was a dog-eat-dog place, and was despised by all the plains. Not to mention, most of these girls came from the various great clans of the Divine Realm, and were doted on since they were young. Naturally, they looked down on people from the Banished Land even more. At this moment, Sheen seemed to have been banished once again. However, she didn't care. She hugged her knees and quietly sat there, waiting for the arrival of dinner. To her, the opinions of others didn't matter at all. Sunlight shone through the small window onto the bed. She tried to touch it again and again, but her body was burned again and again. Finally, when she finally concentrated the power of the law of light under her skin, the burning pain from the God realm's sunlight was not as intense. Although it was still very painful, she was able to stay under the sunlight. She was somewhat gratified. If she couldn't do this, she probably wouldn't be able to pass the next trial no matter what. Finally, the 8th day arrived. The dormitory's metal door was pulled open again. An instructor holding a shining whip said in a cold voice, "All right, come out and eat with me." The group of girls stood up one after another. "Something's wrong." The instructor's eyes were cold. "Change into the training clothes you were given." Immediately. Only half of the people were wearing the training clothes. They were very coarse clothes, at least far inferior to brocade. Thus, only half of the girls here had changed into the training clothes, including Sheen. "Instructor, the training clothes are too uncomfortable. Can't we wear our original clothes?" A rather good-looking girl asked. "No. Why not?" The instructor sneered. The whip in his hand turned into a long snake and flew out. With a paw sound, it shattered the divine power aura wall around the girl, and left a long bloody mark on her beautiful face. "You can't. If you dare to ask a second time, this whip will crush your throat." The Chosen of God trial was far crueler than they had imagined. The girls went to change their clothes without a word. A few minutes later, they were all wearing the same clothes and followed the instructor out of the dormitory. Sheen quietly followed everyone. She was the last one, and everyone seemed to think that she was the last one. There were a total of 12 girls in this dormitory. Apart from Sheen, Terralyn was the strongest, with 29 grotto heavens. The rest were mostly at grotto heavens 1 to 20, and without exception, they were all gods. After all, this was the Chosen of God trial. And it was the God realm. Mortals, even divine heaven realm experts, were not qualified to participate. Dinner was held in a large hall. This time they saw more people. A total of 221 participants were eating together, and the food was very exquisite and rich. There were slices of meat, bread, milk, and so on. Gods could not eat for a long time, but it would definitely affect their strength. Thus, maintaining a meal every day was something every god would do. The 221 people were divided into 11 groups, and Sheen was in the second group. The instructor was a four-winged radiant angel, Li Fei. It was a name that was completely different from her, and her appearance was more in the style of the Shattered Cauldron realm, belonging to the Orientals. This was not strange. Although the four celestial realms had very different languages and cultures, their languages had already begun to assimilate after Fuxi ascended to the heavens beyond heaven. The people on the other planets were all different, and their languages were also very different. However, they would eventually return to unification. As the king of gods in the heavens beyond heaven, and the founder of the Eastern civilization, this was very easy for Fuxi to accomplish. Among the thousands of planes under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm, the Celestial Pole Continent and the other planes all spoke Fuxi's language and had similar cultures, but they were still under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm. This was without a doubt. Follow me. Li Fei wore a pair of leather boots and walked in a straight line. Her tight-fitting short skirt outlined the curves of her round and smooth buttocks, making them extremely enchanting. This caused a few of the male participants to involuntarily swallow their saliva. As the participants of the various great clans, they naturally did not lack women. However, they had never tasted a divine emperor-level woman like Li Fei before. Haiku. Li Fei's voice was very seductive. She smiled and said, "If you continue to let your imagination run wild, I guarantee that I'll smash that dirty head of yours." The young man called Haiku was so frightened that his entire body trembled. He hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to let his imagination run wild anymore. "Today is your first lesson, and it's also the 9th last lesson." Li Fei brought everyone into a cultivation hall, and there was a group of guards keeping watch. She continued, "Today's topic is called control, the control of the powers of light. The reason why I've chosen to have this lesson late at night is because there's no sunlight at this time. I want you all to use your own abilities to create a temporary sun in the middle of the night without sunlight." Creating a sun was not difficult, but it was not easy. As a god, creating something was very common. Of course, it was very common for a god emperor, but it was not so easy for a new god rookie. It required a very strong control over the light element, as well as a very strong reserve of divine power. Li Fei said, "It's very simple. Accumulate the power of your laws of light and blast it into the sky. Maintain the light and heat for 10 minutes, and you'll be considered to have completed the task. You can then go back and have a good sleep. Otherwise, you can only continue to stay here and participate in the trial." It's very simple. A young man walked out of the hall, and with a low roar, golden light enveloped his body. Waves of golden aura rippled out in all directions. His palms spun rapidly, and a dazzling energy body condensed. With a shout, this sun shot into the sky, but it disappeared in less than 5 seconds. Li Fei sneered. "Oh, the young master of the Nisei family doesn't seem to have enough stamina?" Everyone roared with laughter. Li Fei's gaze swept across everyone and she said, "Who else wants to try?" After that, a few more participants went to try. The result was that they either did not have enough power, or they did not have enough stamina. However, there was a young man called Lake who managed to last for 7 minutes on his first try. It was only a matter of time before he broke through to 10 minutes tonight. Finally, when it was Sheen's turn, everyone's gaze turned to him. A girl giggled and said, "Sheen from the land of exile, let us see what you've got." Everyone roared with laughter again, as if it was a disgrace to come from the land of exile. Perhaps it had always been like this. The girl remained silent. She knew that the land of exile was indeed too filthy. It was a memory that she did not want to recall. Chapter 791. Sheen completed the task at around 1 in the morning. When she returned to the dormitory, she found that someone was already there. It was Terralyn. The moment she saw Sheen enter the dormitory, Terralyn was a little surprised. She did not expect that someone who came from the banished land would be able to complete the instructor's task so quickly and return safely. Humph. Terralyn snorted softly. Sheen, however, did not say a word. She quietly walked to her bed, took her things, washed up, and went to sleep. After midnight, the participants came back one after another. Many of the girls' hands were red, bleeding, and charred. That was the result of being burned by light energy. In order to condense enough light energy, their bodies had to undergo such a test. No one said a word and quietly fell asleep. The next day, an even more difficult challenge awaited them. The next day, before the sun had completely risen, a violent knocking sound came from outside. The instructor sternly shouted in a low voice, "Wake up, today's lesson is about to begin." The girls woke up with a start. Some of them had slept for less than an hour. No one complained. They hurriedly got up and quickly gathered at the training field. However, there were less than 221 people today. Just last night, 11 people were eliminated and they chose to give up. Today's lesson is very simple. On the high platform, Li Fei, who was wearing a short skirt and leather boots, held a leather whip in her hand. Her face was full of smiles as she said, "I am the Deputy Dean of the Western Divine Realms training field, and also the instructor of Class 2. Today's lesson will be held together, and the name of today's lesson is Dark Ice Crystals." Many participants showed a look of horror. Sheen did not understand what was going on. Nearby, Terralyn glanced at her and whispered, "Dark ice crystals are also known as black coffins. It is the burial place of many Law of Light cultivators." Oh. Sheen nodded and didn't ask any questions. On the stage, Vice Dean Li Fei giggled and said, "Look, these kids are scared out of their wits." That's right, just as you all know, the dark ice crystal is also known as the black coffin. It's a crystallization of pure dark energy, and also a powerful dark domain. The black coffin contains the most powerful law of darkness. Once you enter the black coffin, you will no longer receive any help. You can only rely on your own strength to break through the darkness and obtain a new life. Otherwise, you will die in the black coffin. But don't worry, as members of the divine profession, you will receive a good burial. Many of the male contestants had fantasized about Li Fei, but now it was completely different. Li Fei was like a beautiful demon. This woman couldn't be touched, or it would kill them. A young candidate asked in a tender voice, "Deputy Dean Li Fei, may I ask, how can our divine power of light break through the darkness?" The power of darkness in the black coffin is the root of the abyss of darkness. It is said that it is extraordinarily powerful. Ignorant. Li Fei glanced at him contemptuously and opened her palm. Suddenly, dawn broke in the sky. A golden ray of dawn pierced through the darkness. Her body slowly rose and bathed in the morning light. She seemed to be very comfortable, for holy wings spread out behind her. She smiled and said, "We are all followers of the law of light. We seek the blessing of the Lord of Light. You don't understand what a god is, what power is. Now I can tell you." She pondered for a moment and said, "The light of the Lord of Light can't be seen by mortals. They burn everything. The fire of the Lord of Light can't cook mortal dishes. They burn everything. The soil of the Lord of Light can't grow trees. They form mountains and rivers. The lightning of the Lord of Light can't be controlled by humans. They are born free. The ice of the sovereigns traversed the 10,000 icy rivers. Speaking up to this point, the beautiful Vice Dean suddenly paused. With a charming smile, she said, "Oh, I almost forgot that all of you are rookies. It's useless to tell you all this. All right, prepare yourselves and enter the black coffins prepared for you. Remember, you must give it your all and use your light divine energy to pierce through the darkness. The results of today's class will be recorded, and the first 10 participants to break through the black coffins will be rewarded with Radiant Origin Stones." Radiant Origin Stones. Everyone knows what they are, right? Everyone exclaimed in surprise again. The Radiant Primal Stone was one of the rarest treasures in the divine world. It was as precious as a godhead. The radiant primal stone was formed in the core of a spirit mountain, and each spirit mountain was a plane. In other words, the radiant primal stone was the crystallization of the entire plane's spirit energy. Moreover, the majority of planes needed thousands or even tens of thousands of years to form a radiant primal stone. One could imagine how precious this small stone was. Radiant origin stone. A middle-aged participant with a short beard trembled as he said, "I must win the radiant primal stone. This way, my family will have a chance to rise again." Sheen's delicate brows furrowed slightly. She had never heard of the radiant primal stone. However, the Vice-Dean's words just now had moved her. The light of the sovereigns could not be seen by mortals. It could burn everything. That's right, in Sheen's understanding, it seemed that true light was the same. It was not salvation but destruction. Amidst the rustling sounds, countless guards rushed into the training field. Every 4 of them carried a huge black ice crystal. The ice crystal was about 5 meters long and 3 meters wide. It was big enough to hold a person. It looked like a simple and unadorned stone, but every cultivator could feel a surging power within the ice crystal that made them feel extremely uncomfortable. Darkness. If the nemesis of darkness was light, then the nemesis of light was also darkness. Since ancient times, countless light gods had died at the hands of the darkness god. Clang, clang, clang. Pieces of ice crystals were erected beside the participants. Sheen also had a piece erected beside her. There was an undercurrent surging within the ice crystal. It was as if streams of dark water were flowing within the ice crystal. They swirled endlessly, and it was a shocking sight to behold. On the stage, Li Fei smiled faintly. "I wish you all good luck. Now you can enter the ice crystal." The guards all used their weapons to stab into the ice crystal and forcefully pulled. Suddenly, there was a creaking sound. The ice crystal actually had an opening. The cold wind whistled, and the temperature of the entire training field suddenly dropped by more than 10 degrees. Frost lingered in the air. It was going to snow soon. Another instructor frowned and said, "What are you waiting for? Enter the black coffin immediately." These black coffins were not easy to obtain. Each one of them was obtained through our hard work. Don't waste them. You must know that if you can break out of the black coffin, your cultivation will also increase greatly. The black coffin can kill you, but it can also stimulate your potential. This is a game for the brave. Now is the time. Enter. Sheen jumped into the black coffin. Her beautiful figure did not hesitate at all. Not far away, Terilyn was startled. She frowned slightly. This Sheen was becoming more and more complicated. Was she looking forward to the cultivation after entering the black coffin? This kind of person was very scary. The group of participants entered the black coffin one after another. After they entered the black coffin, the Immortal Realm guards closed the black coffin's exit. If they wanted to come out, they had to break the black coffin. Swoosh. After entering the black coffin, Sheen immediately felt as if she had sunk into dark seawater. She felt that she could not breathe. She held her breath and stopped breathing. Golden light energy revolved around her body, using it to attack the dark energy. However, it seemed that she had underestimated the dark energy. Wave after wave came, and every time the dark tide surged, there were actually 99 layers of waves. No wonder, she frowned. She finally understood why the black coffin was so precious. It contained the purest dark energy. It was comparable to the energy of a cultivator with the 99 levels of the law of darkness. Her first attempt at attacking the black coffin failed very quickly. She was exhausted, and the light divine power in her body seemed to be almost exhausted. Moreover, the dark energy continued to corrode her body. It wanted to occupy her body. Sheen gritted her teeth. Her eyes stared at the deep sea of darkness. She clenched her fists and let out a cry. In an instant, a golden light covered her body. It was the divine wall. The power obtained from breaking through the 30th level of the grotto heaven was also one of her trump cards. Once the divine wall appeared, the dark energy could no longer invade her body. What she needed to do was to wait for her divine power to recover. Once she was full, she would start the next attack. In her EC, the young overgod lattice emitted a rich light, providing her with the power to rush out of this dark space. But soon, Sheen found that the dark energy around her seemed to have an inexplicable affinity with her. Her body even began to enjoy the dark energy. She was shocked and quickly understood that it was the Azura constitution. Azuras were originally assassins in the dark. Now that she was inside the black coffin, the surrounding dark energy seemed to recognize her as its master. This is great. She rejoiced inwardly and opened her eyes. Her eyes were covered in a layer of blood-red light, and her body was surrounded by a faint red light. She allowed the dark energy to flow into her body. Then, she used her over-god divinity to convert the dark energy into light energy. As a result, the power of darkness in the black coffin became lesser and lesser, while the power of light became greater and greater. What's going on? On the instructor's stand, a bearded instructor looked at a black coffin in the distance. He saw that the light in the black coffin was faintly discernible. In contrast, other than the black coffins of Terralyn, Dora, and Lake, which were glowing with a faint golden light, the black coffins of the other participants were mostly dark. He said with a face full of suspicion, "Is that Sheen?" "That's right." Li Fei squinted her beautiful eyes and smiled. The person chosen by Lady Xian is indeed not ordinary. Can she break out of the black coffin in an hour? If that's the case, she will break the record set by Lady Xian. Not necessarily. Li Fei smiled faintly. Watch carefully. The participants this time are getting more and more interesting. Chapter 792. For hours passed in the blink of an eye. The sun shone down on the western divinity realm. The black coffins were still standing there, glowing faintly. Many of the stronger participants had already expelled more than half of the divine darkness energy in their black coffins, especially those of Dora, Lake, and Terralyn. There wasn't much darkness energy left in their black coffins. Pung! The explosion sent shockwaves in all directions, causing the guards of the god realm to frown. The westernmost coffin exploded, and a beautiful woman bathed in golden light walked out of the darkness. It was Dora! Congratulations to Dora for being the first participant to break through, one of the instructors announced loudly. The recorder beside him wrote down Dora's name in the first place. The bearded instructor frowned. He didn't expect Dora to be the first to break through instead of Sheen. Logically speaking, Sheen's progress was much faster than Dora's. She should have broken through 2 hours ago, but she didn't seem to want to break through. She was still wasting time aimlessly. What is Sheen doing? He asked in dissatisfaction. Li Fei couldn't help but smile. Lord Kulin, why are you so anxious? Even Sheen isn't anxious, so why are you so anxious? Kulin clenched his fists. I think you know better than me how precious a radiant primordial stone is. Every radiant primordial stone needs the Lord Ruler's permission to use it. Even you and Lady Xian have only used 5 radiant primordial stones in your lifetime. I hope such a precious radiant primordial stone will be used by the newcomer with the most potential. I know what you mean. Don't worry, there will be results. Soon, there were 2 more explosions. This time Terralyn and Lake broke through together. Congratulations to Terralyn for becoming the second participant to break through. Congratulations to Lake for becoming the third participant to break through. Terralyn and Lake's names also appeared on the top 10 list. When Terralyn, who was bathed in holy light, walked to the high platform, a group of instructors congratulated her, but Terralyn did not say a word and looked below the platform. The black coffin crystal that belonged to Sheen was glowing with a golden light, and the divine power of light was about to burst out, but it did not break through. Only God knew what this girl from the banished land was thinking. Pung! With another explosion, the 4th place also appeared. It was Luo Pei from the Sea Breeze clan. Not long after, the 5th place also appeared. It was Zhou Shimin from the Tianxi clan. What is she waiting for? Terralyn muttered indifferently. On the side, Dora's small body contained a powerful force. She narrowed her beautiful eyes and remained silent. She also knew that the most threatening people among the competitors were already standing on the stage, but only Sheen had not appeared yet. She was the person selected by Seraph Xian, so she would never fall out of the top 10 so easily. Very soon, The sounds of explosions rang out incessantly, and the 7th, 8th, and 9th place were produced one after another. They were all talents selected by the major clans. These people had received strict education and training since they were young, and they never lacked cultivation materials. The demon spirit stones sent from the celestial pole continent could allow them to step into the divine realm very quickly. Furthermore, their outstanding bloodlines also gave them unique advantages, and their cultivation speed was not something that ordinary people could compare with. Still not coming out. Kulun clenched his fist and looked into the distance nervously. Inside the black coffin, Sheen closed her eyes and naturally stretched her body. She had fallen asleep. The process of cultivation in the black coffin was simply a kind of enjoyment for her. Just when the dark power was almost exhausted, she opened her eyes and easily shattered the black coffin with a burst of power. Bang! Fragments scattered in all directions. She floated in the air like a fairy, stunning Lake, Zhou Shimin and the other men. In terms of appearance, perhaps even beauties like Dora and Vice Dean Li Fei could not compare with this beauty from the land of exile. Only God knew how that filthy and filthy land gave birth to such a peerless beauty. Kulun smiled. Congratulations to Sheen for becoming the 10th participant to break through. Sheen landed on the ground and walked up the platform step by step. Li Fei also nodded with a smile. Not bad. In the group led by Li Fei, Sheen was the most outstanding one. After all, Li Fei was the leader of the second group, so she naturally hoped that she could achieve outstanding results. Miss Sheen, my name is Lake, and I am from the Darklight clan. Lake was only in his 20s, so he could not help but be attracted to beauties of the same age. However, Sheen looked at him blankly, as if she did not know what he meant by these words. Lake was a little embarrassed, and his outstretched hand hung in the air. To think that he was also an outstanding figure among the rising stars of the Western God realm. Whether it was in terms of cultivation or appearance, he was outstanding. Who knew how many women from various families had extended an olive branch to him? However, in front of Sheen, Lake actually felt that he was practically nothing. Terralyn smiled faintly and did not say anything. However, this smile was like a slap to Lake's face, and he immediately blushed. Li Fei saw this and did not say anything. At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the distance, and flames shot into the sky. What happened? Did someone break through again? Terralyn asked in surprise. No, not a breakthrough, but a death. Li Fei sighed. This kind of thing was inevitable in every chosen of God trial. Kulun shouted in a low voice, "Guards, extinguish the fire." A group of guards rushed forward and used their divine power to extinguish the fire. After extinguishing the fire, there was a charred corpse among the wreckage. He had failed to break through the dark energy, and in the end, he was swallowed by the darkness. This was the result of not being strong enough. An instructor shouted, "Participant from the All-Heaven realm, Hule has failed the trial and died. Choose a day to bury him." A few guards carried Hule's corpse out as if it was nothing out of the ordinary. Sheen silently looked into the distance, and a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. Umph. This trace of pity did not escape the eyes of one person. It was Dora. She had been paying attention to Sheen this whole time, and at some point, she had already regarded Sheen as her number one threat. However, at this moment, Dora's eyes flashed with contempt. A person with pity did not deserve to be the final winner of the Chosen of God trial. The results appeared one after another, and people continued to break through. But by the time it was almost evening, there were less than 50 people who had broken through. Li Fei seemed to be a little impatient. She sat up from the bench and said, "No more waiting. Let's eat. Distribute the radiant primordial stones to the top 10 participants." "Yes, Vice Dean." 10 immortals respectfully came forward with wooden boxes. The top 10 participants received one each, and Sheen also received one for himself. Although he was only in 10th place, the reward was actually the same as for first place. The moment the wooden box was opened, a dense wave of light divine power rushed out. Inside the wooden box lay a stone that glowed with faint starlight. The radiant primordial stone was the crystallization of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After being tempered, it would become a light-type energy crystal. With a little refining, one could absorb the light divine power within it. This was not something that ordinary people could obtain. All right, let's go eat. Li Fei looked at the sky and said, "It's getting dark. Leave 10 instructors behind to guard the other participants. The rest of you, go rest and cultivate the radiant primordial stones. The next class is in 3 days." Yes. Li Fei remained silent as she watched the group of participants being escorted away by the guards of the celestial realm. Vice Dean. Kulin couldn't help but frown and said, "Do we need to send people to protect the top 10? That radiant primordial stone is a treasure that even the great clans can't get their hands on. I think there will definitely be people who covet these radiant primordial stones." "No need." Li Fei's beautiful eyes revealed a cold light and said, "The Western Heaven Realm has always been a place where strength speaks. If you can't even protect your own spoils of war, then you don't have the right to continue staying in the Western Heaven Realm, to participate in the God's chosen trial." Yes, Vice Dean is right. Kulin took a deep breath and said, "I understand." Li Fei laughed. "You're just too compassionate. After cultivating with the Lord Sovereign for so many years, you haven't learned anything but compassion." "Haha, Lord Ruler, is he compassionate?" Don't say such things. Otherwise, you will be turned into ashes in minutes. I can't protect you. Even Li Fei is afraid of someone, ha ha ha. Sai, I really don't know what to do with you. Immediately report to Lord Xian about today's situation, and tell her everything about Xian in detail. Yes, this subordinate will do it now. Xian held the wooden box. She cherished this radiant primordial stone very much. This kind of treasure could only be found by chance. Moreover, Xian also faintly felt that there was still endless potential in her body that had yet to be stimulated. It was as if she was sealed, and her strength was in the recovery stage. And this radiant primordial stone would undoubtedly speed up her recovery process. She ate a lot of food during dinner. She ate a roasted chicken and drank half a pot of soup by herself. The strength in her body seemed to have been exhausted during cultivation. After eating, everyone gradually dispersed. Xian still held her wooden box and walked out of the dining hall. The path outside was pitch black, and she couldn't even see her fingers in front of her. Night had fallen. She carefully walked on the path. It was about 3 kilometers from here to the dormitory, but she seemed to have a feeling of unease in her heart. A mortal's unease might be due to psychological reasons, but a god's unease was destined to be a prophecy. Stop. A voice came from the dark forest of gods. 3 black figures slowly walked out. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but from their voices, it was clear that they were participants. What should come had come. What do you want? Xian said calmly. Yes, ha. The black figure at the front said. You are just a bug in the banished land. Although you are beautiful, you have no right to have the radiant primordial stone. Immediately hand over the radiant primordial stone, or else die. Chapter 793. Really? The girl smiled beautifully. If I don't hand over the light raw stone, will you really kill me? That's right. The leading participant sneered. You are only one person. Even if you have the cultivation of the 30th heaven, you are only SOSO. There are 3 of us, and each of us is above the 20th heaven. Killing you is as easy as flipping our hands. Since you want it, I will give it to you. The girl smiled and threw the wooden box into the air. The light raw stone. The leading contestant was full of excitement. He flew over and held the wooden box with both hands. However, the moment he touched the wooden box, he felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. He saw a blade piercing through his abdomen. The blade was surrounded by starlight. It was very mysterious. This sword is so beautiful. This was his last thought before he died. Oh my god, this be *tch killed Master Duke. Kill her. The other 2 contestants rushed over together. They held the divine power of light in their hands. 2 beams of light penetrated through the attack. However, Xian was faster. A golden crystal appeared around the blade. It whistled through the air, ignoring the attacks of the 2 contestants. Bang! Bang! The light energy bombarded her chest, but it was blocked by the divine wall. Oh my God, she has a godly wall. We have to. Before the contestant could finish his sentence, his throat was pierced by the golden crystal. His divine power strong wall was useless against the celestial dragon crystal. As Shein spun around, a golden airwave rippled out, and 3 celestial dragon crystals shot out at lightning speed. Puff, puff, puff. The last participant's eyes were wide open in a daze as he knelt on the ground with a thud. There were 3 horrifying bloody holes in his chest. This was the difference in strength. 3 people ganged up on one person, but they were all killed in less than half a minute. Shein didn't say anything. She picked up the wooden box from the grass and silently disappeared into the divine forest. Not long after, they would be able to see the lights of the dormitory area. There were a few divine realm guards and 2 instructors standing guard there. It was safe. Shein, you're back? One of the instructors recognized her. After all, there weren't many candidates who were beautiful and powerful. Moreover, everyone knew that Shein's recommendation was the legendary commander-level Seraph Shiyen. She was one of the gods who stood at the top of the Western Divine Realm. Yes, instructor. Shein turned around and entered the dormitory. In the dormitory, Terralyn was already cultivating. She was lying on the bed, holding a radiant ore in her hand. The light from the ore was faintly discernible, and she was constantly absorbing it. Such a big radiant raw stone was enough for her to absorb for about 3 days. This was also the reason why Li Fei took 3 days off. The Chosen of God trial was called the Selection of Talents, but everyone knew that it was only for the survival of the fittest to determine the final 10, which were also the strongest 10. Once the list of 10 appeared, they would definitely be entrusted with heavy responsibilities. Slowly sitting on the bed, Shein also began to refine the radiant raw stone. The other girls in the dormitory could only stare in envy. This was the dormitory, and no one dared to act recklessly. Otherwise, the instructor's pointer would be enough to tear them apart. Higher up in the trial field, a spirit mountain was hidden in the clouds. There were many palaces on the spirit mountain. This was the temple of the Western Divine Realm, and also the residence of the ruler, Claude. The ruler of the Western God Realm stood with his back to the crowd beneath a small, bleak window. He wore a black cloak that revealed the golden armor on his shoulders. His long hair had already turned completely white, but his voice clearly did not sound old. Everyone retreat. Shiyen and Eva stay, he said softly. Yes, the gods all retreated, including Li Fei, Kulun, Merlin, and the others. When all the gods had retreated from the temple, only the 3 of them were left. The progress of the Chosen of God trial is not bad, right? Claude asked calmly without turning his back to the 2 blazing angels. Yes. Shiyen nodded and said respectfully, Ruler, more than 50 excellent participants have been selected this afternoon. They all have great potential and are rare talents. True geniuses are 1 in 10,000. Claude smiled faintly. How is the girl who returned from the banished lands? Shein is the 10th participant to break through the black coffin. Oh, her name is Shein? You must have given her that name. Yes, ruler. Have you figured out her identity? Claude asked. No, but we can confirm that she is an Azura, and possesses a powerful dark energy, as well as an even more powerful light energy. Her divine deity has been damaged before, and is currently turbid and unclear. This subordinate cannot see the grade of her divine deity, but it should be the immortal forging deity. As long as we summon the law spirit bead, I believe that she has the potential to become a new blazing angel. Blazing angel? Claude suddenly smiled and said coldly, Blazing Angel is one of the rulers of the Western Divine Realm. This title only needs 2 people. There is no need for a third. Eva, what do you think? The blonde beauty smiled. Ruler is wise. Shiyen was startled. Then, how does Lord Ruler plan to use Shein? She is an exiled person from the exiled land, a fallen god. She is destined not to be on the same level as us in the Western Divine Realm. Claude laughed coldly. What's more, she has the dark power of Ashura in her body, which makes it even more impossible for her to become a person of the god realm. So no matter what the final result of the Chosen One trial is, she must leave the Western Divine Realm. But ruler, Shiyen was startled. She knelt on one knee and said sincerely, I want. You want to protect her, Xian? Yes. Xian said quietly. I used my divine strategy to see through her memories. She has experienced a lot, wandering from place to place, going through countless hardships. I seem to see myself from tens of thousands of years ago in her. So, Xian asks Lord Ruler to pardon Xian. I really want a sister like her. Forget it, Claude said indifferently. It's fine if you want to protect her, but I have to give face to the blazing angels. However, all the dark power in her body must be removed. The Western divine realm only needs the inheritors of the law of light, not the filthy possessors of the law of darkness. Yes, this subordinate understands. But how can we get rid of the dark power? Ha ha ha. Claude laughed, his back still facing the two blazing angels. Have you forgotten about the lost paradise? Lost paradise? Xian shuddered. Does Ruler want to use the lost paradise to cleanse Xian's body of the Shura power? That's right. Claude said indifferently. It's useless to keep the lost paradise in the divine palace. It's better to use the lost paradise's illusory purgatory to cleanse the dark power in her body. But, Xian gritted her teeth. But no one who has entered the lost paradise for hundreds of thousands of years has ever come out alive. The lost paradise is just a curse, a dead place full of illusions and curses. How can we? Xian. Claude's voice became slightly stern. Don't forget your identity. You are a blazing angel, one of the rulers of the divine realm. You weren't like this in the past. There's a limit to how much mercy you can show to a person. This subordinate understands. Xian murmured. Then, when the trial is over, send her into the lost paradise. You two can leave as well. Yes. Xian and Eva retreated. The moment they stepped out of the hall, Eva couldn't help but frown. Sister Hyan, how can you be so reckless? You actually offended Lord Ruler for a woman from the banished land. It's fortunate that Lord Ruler has a good temper today. Otherwise, you would definitely be punished. Under the starlight, Eva's blonde hair fluttered in the wind. Her exquisite and beautiful face was full of reproach. I can't describe that feeling. Xian sighed and slowly walked down the steps, saying, From the first time I saw her, I was very distressed by everything she had encountered. I can't read her past, but I know that she must have suffered a lot. She has a kind of power that makes people want to get close to her, even want to. Eva's eyes widened. Even what? To submit. What? Eva was so frightened that she took several steps back. Are you crazy? Sister Hyan, you are a blazing angel. Why would you feel reverence for someone from the banished land? I really can't imagine. Not really. I feel very little reverence, more like closeness. Xian bit her red lips. I don't know what's wrong with me. My entire body seems to be in a mess. Eva sighed. It's probably because you haven't had your period for a long time after stepping into the 99th level of the grotto heaven. You. Xian couldn't help but blush. Why are you talking about this? Don't forget that you are a blazing angel. Don't be so improper. Eva no longer had the dignity of a half-blazing angel. She held Xian's arm and laughed. The God realm doesn't prohibit relationships between men and women. Even the Lord Ruler tacitly agrees. Every year, many radiant angels and strength angels descend to find handsome men to relieve their loneliness. Don't tell me. Sister Hyan, don't you want to? Xian's eyes dimmed. Men are troublesome. You're so serious. Eva chuckled. It's been a long time since we went to the God realm. After the chosen God trial, let's find a plane and go sightseeing. How about it? Let's talk about it after Xian passes the lost paradise. Otherwise, I won't be in the mood. I'm alright then. Don't worry. I will put in a good word for Xian to the Lord Ruler. Early in the morning, an alarm sounded in the training field. An instructor shouted from outside the dormitory area. Duoku and the other two were killed last night on a forest path. Participants, please pay attention to your safety. Duoku and the other two were killed last night on a forest path. Participants, please pay attention to your safety. It seemed like he was only warning everyone to pay attention to their safety, but not to pursue the matter. Chapter 794. In the Shattered Cauldron Realm, spring snow swept across the land. The entire Lingdong province was shrouded in a curtain of snow. The northern wind whistled and danced, bringing with it the fluttering snow that hit the sturdy newly built city walls of Winterfrost City. Tuck, tuck, tuck. The sound of hooves could be heard in the curtain of snow. A man raised the purple Inghua flag and said loudly, "The 1st and 2nd battalions of the Imperial Guards have arrived and requested to enter Winterfrost City. This is our vanguard token." A small door was opened under the city, and the token was accepted. Soon after, the door slowly opened, and cavalrymen wrapped in leather robes appeared from the falling snow and entered the city. Above the city wall, the veteran Johann was smoking a pipe. He tilted his head and tilted the pipe, so that it wouldn't be extinguished by the falling snow. As he smoked, clouds of smoke drifted in the air and mixed with the snow. "Sergeant, this is the 7th day. There are troops of the Empire entering Winterfrost City every day. Is there really going to be a war?" A new recruit rubbed his hands and looked up at the sky. Large flakes of snow fell on his face. He couldn't help but complain. "What kind of weather is this? Why is it snowing so heavily? I wonder how many crops will be frozen to death." Johann smiled, and the wrinkles on his face moved up and down along with his smile. He said, "I don't know if a war will break out, but the news regarding the celestial pole continent has been spreading like wildfire. Who doesn't know that there's another continent on the other side of the Eastern Sea? There are 3 powerful countries on that continent, and the enemy is strong while we're weak. I believe that Prince Xian and Prince Zhong must have mobilized their armies into Winterfrost City to fend off the enemy." The young recruit looked excited. He sat up and said, "Sergeant, I heard that the Zetian Palace wants to make our Winterfrost City the eastern capital. Is it true?" "It's true. Then, if the eastern capital is made, we the soldiers who have been guarding Winterfrost City for 5 years should be able to get some benefits." "What benefits can there be? At most, you will get 3 to 5 copper coins more every month. How much more do you think you can get?" Johann narrowed his eyes and said, "But the eastern capital is only used to defend against the enemy. If I have a choice, I'd rather go back to Lanyan City and guard the warehouse outside the city." The new recruit was stunned. "Why? At least that way, we will be one step closer to death." The old recruit continued smoking. It was at this moment a soldier's shout came from somewhere in the inner city. "Duke Wei is here to patrol the garrison." The veteran hurriedly patted the tobacco leaves in his tobacco pot onto the snowy ground. He led a group of soldiers to stand up with cold halberds in their hands. Each of them puffed out their chests and stood ramrod straight. Snow fell on their helmets and shoulders, but no one moved an inch. Duke Weiqiu was the commander of the entire Dragon Courage Battalion, and the highest general, who defeated the demons in the end. In the hearts of the Empire's soldiers, this Duke Wei had long since become a heroic existence. On. Amidst the sound of stepping on snow, a group of people walked over from the snow screen in the distance. The person wearing the Duke's cloak was Wei Chou, and behind him was a group of vice commanders and captains. "Greetings, Commander." The soldiers all knelt on one knee. Since the main force of the Longdan army camp was transferred back from the 8 wastelands, the defense of Winterfrost City was done by the Longdan army camp. This was also the intention of Feng Jixing and Tang Xiaoxi. Wei Chou put his hand on the hilt of the sword on his waist and nodded to the soldiers. "Rise." Everyone stood up. Wei Chou breathed out hot air, looked at everyone's frozen red faces, frowned and said, "Shui, inform the military supplies department, for every soldier defending the city, give them an extra cotton coat." "Yes, Commander." Situ Shui nodded. At the side, Situ Sen's lips curled up. He looked outside the city and said, "I wonder when His Highness Prince Qin will return. Recently, ships from the Celestial Pole continent have been approaching the coast, but His Highness still hasn't appeared. Even Prince Xian, Prince Zhong, and Princess Xi have come to Winterfrost City, but he still hasn't returned. I really don't know how long he will delay." Wei Chou smiled. His Highness naturally has his reasons for staying in the celestial pole continent. General Sun, there's no need to be anxious. Recently, ships from the celestial pole continent have been appearing more and more frequently. I think His Highness should be returning soon. Situ Shue frowned and said, It's just that they're all merchant ships, using the pretense of coming to our port to do business. Maybe they're just a group of spies. Wei Chou nodded. All the foreign merchant ships that approach the Empire's port are detained. We'd rather spend food to feed these merchants than let them send back information about our garrison. In my opinion, why don't we? Situ Sun made a chopping gesture and said, Let's just chop them down. It's better to save food for ourselves. It's already the beginning of spring, and it's still snowing. It's destined that the harvest won't be too good. We don't know how long this war will last. Wei Chou smiled and shook his head. That won't do. We haven't really declared war with the celestial pole continent yet. If we kill their merchants, it'll be easy for them to gossip. It's better to be steady and wait for His Highness to return from the celestial pole continent before making a decision. Then are we just going to do nothing now? Situ Sun clenched his teeth. He was a typical pro-war person. Bai Yin also said, That's right. We can't just sit by and do nothing. We have to have a countermeasure. I know. Wei Chou muttered to himself for a moment before saying, Prince Xian Feng Jixing said yesterday that we should send out small-scale warships to set up our maritime defense line. Once foreign merchant ships come, we'll immediately shoot back with arrows. If the warning is ineffective, we'll just blast them with the demonic crystal cannons. These are what Feng Jixing said after he was drunk. What do you guys think? His Highness Prince Xian might have had too much to drink. Situ Shue smiled. Wouldn't it give the celestial pole continent an even greater reason to start a war with the celestial pole continent? Moreover, our weapons, warships, and provisions aren't fully prepared yet. If we were to start a war in a hurry, it'll probably be very disadvantageous for us. After all, there are over 1,000 dragon knights in the celestial pole continent. If over 1,000 dragon knights were to launch an attack from the air, there's no way we'll be able to fend them off. That's right. We still need more time. Wei Chou looked at the snow in the east with a clear gaze and said, This is especially so for the warships. The imperial capital's newly built flying ships are still on the Daojiang River and have yet to arrive. We'll have to wait for close to a month before we start a war. Otherwise, we'll definitely face a crushing defeat. Also, he raised his head to look at the sky side and said, This snow is too vicious. Our Empire's army isn't good at fighting in the snow, especially the demonic crystal cannons. The firing mechanism of the energy crystals is easily affected by the accumulated snow, causing it to lose its effectiveness. When His Highness Prince Qin was around, the demonic crystal cannons would always be used in sunny weather. With the current weather, we should try our best to avoid a battle. That does seem to be the case. Situ Sun nodded, reached out to pat Wei Chou's shoulder, and said, How's your cultivation of that ghost god divinity that His Excellency gave you before he left? I've made some progress. Wei Chou smiled. Come, let us take a look. Wei Chou walked to the wall, away from the line of sight of a group of soldiers, and suddenly opened his palm. Instantly, a faint purple light rose from his palm, filled with dense ghost god energy. This was the energy that he had absorbed from the ghost god divinity. Back then, Lin Muyu had used the treasure cauldron to help him cultivate the ghost god divinity. And now, Wei Chou had cultivated the ghost god energy to 10 times its original strength. Oh my, Situ Sun was speechless, and he said, Your cultivation is not bad. You're already in the Holy King realm, right? Wei Chou nodded. After cultivating the ghost god energy, my cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds, and now I'm at the peak of the Holy King realm. Moreover, Lord Chu Chu often teaches me, so with Princess she's help in guiding and refining my ghost god energy, I should be able to step into the godly state within half a year. Situ Sun took a deep breath and he said, She's practically their own child, why don't I see them pointing at me? Wei Chou smiled. Princess, she said that she wants to point at you, but you're cultivating the same astral tactics as Lord Chu Chu, and she knows nothing about it, so it's better to wait for Lord Choo Choo to come back. That's the only way. At this moment, from the east of the city, another figure walked over. It was a man in a dark green cloak. Winterfrost City had been under martial law for a long time, and during the period when the Imperial Army was stationed here, no one was allowed to enter or leave the city, be it merchants or pedestrians. The appearance of this man surprised the soldiers on the city wall. Who is it? Johann, the veteran soldier, raised his hands and shouted at the man in the distance. The man did not speak, but continued to walk toward the city gate. Archers! Johann shouted. Winterfrost City has been under martial law, and no one is allowed to enter before 4 months. Hurry up and leave. If you don't speak, we'll shoot you. The person walked in the snow, his footsteps unsteady. After coming to a stop, he lifted the furry cloak on his head, revealing a handsome face. He looked up at the people on the city wall, smiled, and said, "Is there anyone in the Longdan army camp who doesn't know me?" Johann trembled. King Qin. What? Wei Chou Situ Sun Situ Shui, and Baiyin ran to the edge of the battlement. Looking down, the person standing in the snow was none other than Lin Muyu. It's really Lord Choo Choo. Ha ha ha, Lord Choo Choo is back. The 4 of them rushed down from the city wall almost at the same time. Originally, the 4 of them were walking side by side, but when they got close to Lin Muyu, the 3 of them stopped and knelt on one knee. Greetings, Your Highness. Only Situ Shui threw herself into Lin Muyu's arms, buried her face in his weathered neck and smiled. Your Highness, you're finally back. Lin Muyu was a little embarrassed. Ah Shui, a long time no see. Blushing, Situ Shui stepped back and knelt on one knee beside her brother. Greetings, Your Highness, Situ Shui. Get up, all of you. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. I heard that Brother Feng Yan and Xiaoxi are all in Winterfrost City. Yes. Wei Chou nodded. The Empire has decided to set the eastern capital at Winterfrost City, so everyone is here. Great, bring me to them. Yes. Chapter 795. The guards brought over a warhorse, and Lin Muyu got on it. She entered Winterfrost City under the escort of Situ Sun, Wei Chou, and the others. The snow was falling like feathers, and there were very few people on the streets. Everyone was very quiet. Other than the sound of the horses' hooves and the snow falling on the cloaks, there were almost no other sounds. Lin Muyu looked at the 2 sides of the street. The doors of the noodle shops were tightly shut, and the taverns were all closed for business. Everything seemed to be different from before. From afar, she could see groups of Longdan army camp patrolling the city with long spears in their hands. What's going on? He asked. Wei Chou knew what he wanted to ask. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, ever since the decision was made to make Winterfrost City the eastern capital, the Empire's army has moved into Winterfrost City in large numbers. Now there are 1 million citizens in Winterfrost City, and the army has exceeded 400,000 soldiers. Therefore, in order to save on food, Prince Xian Feng Jixing ordered the closure of the taverns, restaurants, and the like. In order to prepare for war, everyone in the city has to live frugally. Oh, Lin Muyu nodded and said, that's not wrong. It's just that the people in the city are going to suffer. There's nothing we can do about it. Wei Chou looked at the sky and said, this snow is like a nightmare, catching us off guard. Most of the rations in various places have been blocked by the snow, and very soon, our rations will be very tight. We can only hope that this snow will stop soon. However, even if the snow stops after the snow melts, the ground in Lingdong province will be muddy, and it will be very difficult for the vehicles transporting rations to pass through. Sigh. Big Brother Feng, Xiaoxi, and Chu are all at the Divine Realm. Why don't they use the ability to summon wind and rain to stop this snow? General Feng hasn't obtained this ability yet. Princess, she has the fire laws and tried once but failed. Chu isn't willing to do things that go against the laws of nature, so it's fine. Let me handle this. Lin Muyu took a deep breath, and the sovereign lattice in his eye trembled slightly. Rays of golden light enveloped his body, and he suddenly raised his hand and pointed to the sky. With a whoosh, an ice elemental law bead shot into the sky, and the golden light shot into the dark clouds like a sharp arrow. The next moment, A golden wave rushed down from the sky. The dark clouds parted, and a brilliant ray of sunlight shone on the ground. Immediately afterward, the heavy snow stopped. The dark clouds in the sky seemed to have been cut open, and they continued to spread and recede. Before long, the whole of Winterfrost City was bathed in the setting sun. Oh my God! Is this the power of a god? Situ-sun was dumbfounded. The residents on both sides of the road also walked out of their houses and looked at the changes in the sky in astonishment. This was a spectacle they had never seen in their lives. Lin Muyu's divine power was like a tinder, burning away the clouds like black cloth, and returning the sky to a cloudless sky. Moreover, the tinder did not stop, and it continued to spread around Winterfrost City. Perhaps half of Winter Ridge Province would be sunny again? Bam! Papa! A few rays of purple light bloomed on the snowy ground at the side. It was the effect of breaking through the void. Lin Muyu did not even need to think to know who it was. She must have activated her divine power and alerted the few deity-level experts in the city. He dismounted from the horse, and a beautiful figure descended from the space crack not far ahead. It was Tang Xiaoxi. Moo. She was overjoyed and sprinted towards Lin Muyu. However, she stopped when she was less than 2 meters away from Lin Muyu. Every day, she would miss Lin Muyu so much that she was at a loss as to what to do when they were about to meet. Lin Muyu opened her arms and hugged Tang Xiaoxi tightly. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were red. She didn't need to say anything. Cough cough. Behind her, Feng Jixing and Ouyang Yan coughed. Lin Muyu let go of Tang Xiaoxi and turned around with a smile. Brother Feng Ouyang. Ouyang Yan chuckled. Lord Chu Chu and Miss Chu Yao asked us to come and welcome you. Did you dispel the snow just now? Feng Jixing asked. Yes. Lin Muyu glanced at Feng Jixing and immediately knew his current cultivation. She smiled and said, Congratulations to Brother Feng for stepping into the 17th level of Heavenly Abode. Haha, what are you talking about? Feng Jixing stepped forward and patted Lin Muyu's arm. Let's go. Good wine and delicious food have been prepared for you. When we go back, let's drink until we are drunk. Also, tell us in detail about the Celestial Pole continent. Yes. The group passed through a few streets. The Eastern Capital Palace wasn't built on King Qin's residence. According to Feng Jixing and Tang Xiaoxi's wishes, King Qin's residence was Lin Muyu's residence, and no one had touched it. Therefore, the Eastern Capital Palace was built on top of a wealthy merchant's residence. This residence spanned nearly 3 miles, and was considered very luxurious. With a little renovation, it could be used as a temporary Eastern Capital Palace. In reality, its most important function was to serve as the highest military command center of the Great Qin Empire. The palace was a little shabby. One of the pavilions had even collapsed due to the heavy snow. A group of soldiers were hurriedly cleaning it. After being separated for so long, Chu Yao's complexion seemed even better than before. As her cultivation base rose, her temperament became more elegant. She was wearing the robes of the Spirit Medicine Department's head attendant, looking extremely beautiful. Sister Chu Yao. Lin Muyu smiled brightly. Chu Yao also chuckled. Ayu, you're finally back. If you didn't come back, someone of ours would miss you so much that he would tear the tiles off the roof. Ah? Who? What do you think? Tang Xiaoxi's face was already red. She pouted. Sister Chu Yao only knows how to make fun of me. Lin Muyu smiled. She stepped forward and bowed to Chu Chu. Lin Muyu pays respect to teacher. No need to be so polite. Chu Chu stroked his beard and smiled. You are the Qin Emperor, and I am just an old man who has nothing to do. You don't have to bow to me. Let's go in. It's too cold outside. The main hall was the original master's hall, and it was considered quite big. However, it was clearly a little shabby to be used as the Empire's highest command center's meeting hall. After all, there were over 100 people who were commanders and captaincy-level commanders. Such a place was obviously too crowded. Lin Muyu knew that everyone had put in a lot of effort. She held on to Tang Xiaoxi's soft and warm hand and walked in. She asked gently, Xiaoxi, how many people are staying in this temporary imperial residence? So many people. Tang Xiaoxi blinked and said, Prince Xian, Prince Zhongmi, and the commanders of all the major armies are staying here. There are over 70 rooms in the backyard of this residence. Lin Wuyu couldn't help but smile. You and Sister Chu Yao can stay with me in Prince Qin's residence. It's more comfortable there, and it's not far. Tang Xiaoxi's face was red. She said gently, all right. Situ Sun grinned. I want to stay too. Go and scram back to the barracks. Yes, Your Highness. I will do as you say. Everyone burst into laughter. The banquet was quite sumptuous, and there weren't many people. The three kings had gathered, but it wasn't too extravagant. It was just a group of people sitting around a table. After 3 rounds of wine, Feng Jixing said, all right, you can tell us about the celestial pole continent. Lin Wuyu nodded. The celestial pole continent is divided into 3 great empires. Among them, the Tianji Empire has the strongest military, the Celestial Empire has the most population, and the Blackstone Empire is the weakest. The 3 empires keep each other in check. The Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire have an old feud, while the Blackstone Empire is content in its own corner. Therefore, the main thing I've been doing in the Celestial Pole continent during this period of time is to sow discord between the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire. As long as the Celestial Empire keeps in check, the Tianji Empire won't send all of its military forces to our Shattered Cauldron realm. If the Tianji Empire only sends out less than half of its military forces, we'll still have a chance. What about the Blackstone Empire? Feng Jixing pondered deeply for a moment. In the recent half a month, we've seen many traces of the Darkstone Empire's ships in the coastal area of our east coast. They seem to be even more anxious about this war than the Tianji Empire. Lin Wuyu nodded. The Blackstone Empire has a small population, and its army is very small. The entire country tends to be militaristic. They really need a war to expand their territory. What is the strength of the Blackstone Empire? Asked Wei Chou. Lin Wuyu nodded and looked at Silver Sire on the table, saying, although the Blackstone Empire is the weakest of the 3 empires, it also has 500,000 regular troops, more than 100 dragon knights, and more than 20,000 beast riders. In addition, the Thunder Flame sect, which they regard as a holy sect, also has more than 50,000 disciples. Its strength cannot be underestimated. Besides that, the Darkstone Empire advocates martial strength, and if nothing unexpected happens, their emperor will surely recruit mercenary groups to serve the empire. At that time, I'm afraid it won't just be 500,000 regular troops that we're facing. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chu Chu muttered to himself. Looks like our great Qin won't be able to avoid this calamity no matter what. Yeah, I didn't think about hiding. Lin Wuyu looked at a group of friends, subordinates, and relatives and said, if they want to fight, we will fight. We can't be weak in this war. We can't retreat. Otherwise, we will be defeated again and again. Feng Jixing and Qin Yan nodded at the same time. Basically, the 3 kings had reached a consensus at this point. How is the distribution of our troops? Asked Lin Wuyu. Feng Jixing said, there are close to 350,000 soldiers stationed in the city of Winter Frost. In addition, there are 100,000 soldiers stationed in the Tongtian province and Lingdong province. There are close to 400,000 soldiers stationed in the coastal towns of the Tongtian province and Lingdong province. Together with the soldiers from the Linkhong province, we will be deploying close to 1 million soldiers. Also, Princess She has already ordered for the demons in the Endless Forest to be mobilized. There should be close to 200,000 demons assisting in the battle. And Lin Wuyu nodded. Xiaoxi, come with me to the east coast tomorrow to patrol. Maybe the Tianji Empire will make a move in advance. Okay. Also, Lin Wuyu glanced at everyone and said, Chu brother Feng Ayan, sister Chu Yao, Ouyang Weichou, and Situ Sun, follow me back to King Qin's mansion after the dinner. I have one more thing to say. Chapter 796. Nighttime, King Qin's Manor. Crash. Lin Wuyu poured the pile of demon spirit stones in her Qianquan bag onto the white cloth on the table. Instantly, it shone brightly, and the unique radiance of demon spirit stones flickered in the room. This is... Feng Jixing was stunned. This is called demon spirit stones. Lin Muyu pondered for a moment, sorted out her thoughts and explained, there are spirit beasts in the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent that produce spirit stones and wild beast spirits to help cultivators increase their cultivation. In the Celestial Pole continent, there are not only spirit beasts, but also demon spirits. The demon spirits absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and transform it into demonic energy, which then produces demon spirit stones. The great difference between demon spirit stones and spirit stones is that spirit stones can only absorb a large amount of energy when a cultivator is breaking through, but demon spirit stones don't have such a restriction. One can refine demon spirit stones at any time and absorb the spiritual energy within to cultivate. This is also the reason why the number of deity realm experts in the Celestial Pole continent is tens of times more than ours. Are demon spirit stones really so magical? Feng Jixing picked up a demon spirit stone and stared at it with his eyes wide open. Yes. Lin Muyu continued. Demon spirit stones are very rare. In the 3 empires of the Celestial Pole continent, it's a treasure that can't be bought or sold. Only those nobles have the opportunity to refine demon spirit stones. Then how did you get such a large pile of demon spirit stones? Asked Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu blushed. It's a long story. In short, I got so much by deceiving and abducting. Then I took away the treasures in the Pishio mercenary group's lair, and got all the demon spirit stones. As he spoke, he shook his Qingkuan bag again, scattering the demon spirit stones all over the table. As he spoke, he shook his cosmos sack and scattered the demon spirit stones all over the table. He said, look, every demon spirit stone is different. They are classified according to the color. Only a demon spirit stone with one color is a first-class demon spirit stone, which can only be produced by a demon emperor. Don't look, there aren't any here. I am not a match for a demon emperor at all. 2 colors are demon king's demon spirit stones. There are a few here. 3 colors are demon venerable, 3rd class is demon spirit stone, and so on. As he spoke, Lin Muyu held up a handful of demon spirit stones and said to Chu Chu, Chu, give it a try. The demon spirit stones are very powerful, and can make your cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. Chu Chu muttered, You guys use it. Grandpa's law of cultivation is the natural law of heaven. If it's not necessary, I won't kill. This kind of demon spirit stone is condensed in the body of a spirit beast. Grandpa has his own law of heaven. Don't worry about me. Lin Muyu didn't force him. Chu Chu's personality had always been like this, but it was also because of this personality that Chu Chu's cultivation had always been one step faster than others. Wei Chou was a little excited. Madam, are you saying that everyone who came here today has a share of demon spirit stones? Lin Muyu nodded and said, There are a total of 3 demon king demon spirit stones. There are also a few demon venerable demon spirit stones. Most of them are 4th class and 5th class demon spirit stones. Take as you see fit. Don't be too greedy. After refining 1 demon spirit stone, it usually takes half a month to completely absorb and refine the new energy. So taking more is useless. Thank you, madam. Wei Chou smiled. Prince Xian should take it first. I take it first? Feng Jixing was a little excited. If I take too much, don't say that I'm greedy. Oh, okay. Feng Jixing indeed didn't take much. He only took 1 demon king demon spirit stone, 1 demon venerable demon spirit stone, and a few 4th class demon spirit stones. After that, it was Tang Xiaoxi's turn to choose. She took about the same amount as Feng Jixing. After that, it was Qin Yan, Chu Yao, Ouyang Yan, Wei Chou, Situ Sun, and the others. Even Situ Shui was given a few 5th class demon spirit stones. With her cultivation level, demon spirit stones were very beneficial to her. After everyone had finished distributing the demon spirit stones, Lin Muyu kept the remaining demon spirit stones. These demon spirit stones could be used for cultivation. Everyone, don't go back tonight. Lin Muyu said. I have already instructed the servants to prepare the rooms. You guys can stay in Prince Qin's mansion. It will also be good for you guys to compare notes on the effects and process of refining demon spirit stones. General Sun, I still have to check on your astral arts cultivation progress. Yes, thank you, madam. Situ-san was very excited. Whether he could step into the god state or not, it would depend on how much effort Lin Muyu would spend to nurture him. At night, everyone went back to their respective rooms to refine demon spirit stones. Lin Muyu brought Tang Xiaoxi along to watch Situ-san practice the astral arts in the martial arts hall. Situ-san's talent was very high. He only needed a few words from Lin Muyu to understand. Mu, what's going on with the Pishio mercenary group? Tang Xiaoxi suddenly asked while both of them were leaning against the railing. It's one of the 3 big mercenary groups of the Blackstone Empire. I killed their leader and made Lu Bai the leader. Si Kongyao stayed behind to assist him. I rebuilt the Pishio mercenary group and used it as a spy that we left in the Celestial Pole continent. Oh, right, I changed the name of the group. It's not called the Pishio mercenary group anymore. It's called the Bai Zhe mercenary group. Why? The name sounds nice. Oh, okay. Tang Xiaoxi was silent. Xiaoxi, what's wrong? Lin Muyu saw that she was a little abnormal. That. Tang Xiaoxi stammered for a long time before asking. Si Kongyao. You wouldn't. Lin Muyu suddenly understood. She couldn't help but hold her little hand and said, What are you thinking? Si Kongyao and I are just siblings. It's not like what you're thinking. I swear that in this life, there are only 2 people who can really make me fall in love. One is you and the other is Xiaoyin. If there's a 3rd person, then curse me. Curse what? Tang Xiaoxi tilted her head and smiled lightly. Curse me to be impotent for the rest of my life. Don't. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. That won't do me any good. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Okay, let's get down to business. I still have a small gift for you. What is it? Lin Muyu reached into her arms and took out a small cloth bag. After opening it, she saw a complete godhead emitting a faint luster. Wow, a complete godhead of the law of fire? Yes, this is LV Feng's godhead. He failed to assassinate Lu Bai and was killed by me. Although this godhead is just a mortal's godhead, its cultivation is very high. It must be of great benefit to Xiaoxi's cultivation. You should refine it tonight with a venerable demon spirit stone to replenish your strength. At least you can break through to the next cave heaven. Really? I won't lie to you. You'll know after you try. Tang Xiaoxi was overjoyed and threw herself into Lin Muyu's arms. Hey! Not far away, Situ-san grinned and said, Don't just think about love. Your Highness, can you check if there are any other flaws in my star tactics so that I can correct them? Basically, they are all flaws. Lin Muyu said, General Sun, don't sleep tonight. Stay in the courtyard and watch the moonlight. Why? What did I do wrong? Your Highness wants to torture me like this. Idiot, I asked you to watch the moonlight in the courtyard because the moonlight contains the power of Yin. If you can see through the coldness in the moonlight and starlight and use it for your own use, you will naturally be able to cultivate the 5th heaven of the star tactics, Jade Snow Frost. Situ-san was overjoyed. Your Highness, are you saying that I have a chance to master the powerful Jade Snow Frost? Of course. Cultivate well, and follow the mental cultivation method I gave you. Yes. Your Highness, please take Princess Shi back to her room to rest. I can't hear anything, hee. Lin Muyu was indeed going to take Tang Xiaoxi back to her room, but what she was going to do was different from what Situ-san had expected. She was going to help Tang Xiaoxi continue to improve her cultivation. After all, her godhead had already broken through to the heavenly Tao godhead. With her aptitude and the 9-tailed demon fox's innate potential, as long as she cultivated properly, her godhead would definitely continue to break through. It might even become the caste immortal godhead or the overgod godhead. Refining the godhead and absorbing the demon spirit stones was not an easy task. She needed someone to protect her. To Tang Xiaoxi, the best person to protect her was naturally Lin Muyu. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Balls of scarlet flames revolved in Tang Xiaoxi's palms. She and Lin Muyu sat opposite each other on the cattail hassock on the floor of the room. Their palms were round and the flames revolved. LV Feng's fire godhead was at the core of the flames. With Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation, she no longer needed to use Lin Muyu's crafting cauldron to refine the godhead. Lin Muyu was not idle either. Tonight, while helping Tang Xiaoxi to break through, she also refined a demon spirit stone to absorb divine energy. It had been a long time since she last broke through. It was time for her next breakthrough. Ah! Wisps of golden flames surrounded Tang Xiaoxi's delicate body. She liked the fiery energy very much. She could not help but raise her long neck and exhale a breath of fire. The process of refining LV Feng's godhead seemed to be very smooth. Lin Muyu calmly sat on the floor with her right hand hanging down. A demon spirit stone was slowly jumping in her left palm. It was like spinning silk from a cocoon, turning each grain of spiritual energy into her own. Not long after, Tang Xiaoxi's body suddenly trembled. It was the counterattack of the godhead. In the vigorous flames, a burly man rushed over and roared, "Don't even think of killing me. I, LV Feng, will not sit still and wait for death. I will kill you, you little whore." Tang Xiaoxi hated it the most when people scolded her like this. She raised her eyebrows and countless flames rushed out from her surroundings. Even the faint image of a nine-tailed demon fox appeared above her head. Suddenly, the trace of spiritual sense contained in LV Feng's godhead was instantly dispersed. It was refined in the blink of an eye. After an unknown period of time, Lin Muyu also exhaled a breath of turbid air. The power in her body surged and expanded. It was time. She urged the power and began to attack the divine energy Xian Gate in her Qi Si. Everything was going smoothly. When Lin Muyu broke through to the 23rd level grotto heaven, Tang Xiaoxi also stepped into the 22nd level grotto heaven with a face full of joy. So tired. Her face was full of exhaustion. She crawled forward and rested on Lin Muyu's lap. A sweet smile hung on the corner of her mouth. "I'm going to sleep first. Do you want to continue cultivating?" Lin Muyu gently stroked her shoulder. "Go to sleep. I will also close my eyes and rest for a while. We still have to go to the sea in the morning." Tang Xiaoxi closed her eyes and fell asleep peacefully. Chapter 797. Tear apart the darkness with your thunderbolts. Otherwise die. The instructor's cruel laughter echoed in the training field of the Western Divine Realm. Do you think you can gain the respect of the world just because you come from the major families? Ha 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 ha, stop dreaming. This is the training field, the final destination of the proud gods. In the air, the instructor waved his whip. As the whip flashed, a bolt of lightning bloomed in the air. Below, in the sealed space of the training field, the participants were trying their best to control the ability to summon wind and rain. Dark clouds covered the sky, and bolts of lightning crazily crashed into the secret rooms. However, every secret room seemed to be covered by a layer of energy barrier. In the raging wind, Vice Dean Li Fei crossed her arms and stepped on the void. Her short cloak fluttered in the wind. She squinted her beautiful eyes and looked at the densely packed secret rooms in the training field. She said, "How many people are left?" "There are 42 people left," Kulun said respectfully. "Lady Li Fei, only 42 people have stepped into the 20th level of Grotto Heaven. Terralin, Sheen, and Lake each made a breakthrough 2 days ago." "Not bad," Li Fei said calmly. "Pass down my order. The last person to walk out of the secret room will be punished." "What kind of punishment?" "Death." Kulun's body trembled. "Yes, I understand." Holding the whip, Kulun flew in the air above the training field. He gathered his divine power in his voice and said, "All participants, please take note. Please break out of the secret room as soon as possible. The last person to walk out of the secret room will be severely punished with death. Trash is not qualified to become a member of the Divine Realm's training field." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a loud bang. The barrier of one of the secret rooms suddenly exploded. A beautiful woman stood in the air with a cloud of smoke. It was Dora. As expected, she was the first to pass the test. Although Dora came from a plane that lacked resources, the pride in her heart seemed to be above that of the descendants of the various great families in the immortal realm. She looked at the other sealed rooms behind her, and only relaxed after confirming that she was the first person to pass the test. However, in less than 10 seconds, there was another explosion, and the second person who passed the test appeared. In the strong wind, a petite figure walked on the wind. Sheen.
Oh.
Dora looked coldly at Sheen. When the two of them brushed past each other, Dora lowered her voice and smiled faintly. You're not bad. Oh, is that so? Sheen was indescribably calm. But you better be careful. I can only get first place in this chosen of God trial. If necessary, I won't hesitate to kill you. I hope you understand this. Dora sneered. The corners of her lips curled into a sinister smile that didn't match her age at all. Sheen walked straight to the vice principal and Kulun and said softly, Don't be too full of yourself. You. Dora's gaze was cold, but she didn't say anything else. It wasn't her habit to talk too much. Not long after, Terralyn Lake, Luopei Zhou and the others all passed the test. Li Fei floated in the air, holding a notebook in her hand. She took out a pen and recorded on it. She smiled and said, You'll get points according to your ranking. The first 3 places, Dora, Sheen and Terralyn, will get 10 points. The 4th to 7th places will get 5 points. The first 15 places will get 3 points. Currently, the first place in the Chosen of God trial is still Dora. As she spoke, she looked deeply at the crowd and said, Do your best. Yes, Vice Principal. The group of students also learned to be respectful through the trials. No matter where they came from, or what great family they came from, as long as they entered the trial grounds, they would only be a simple participant. If they did something wrong, they would still be severely punished. Every day, there would be people who were beaten until their flesh was lacerated, and there would even be people who died every day. Out of the 221 people who had entered, only 42 were left. Sheen remembered very clearly that many people had been eliminated on the first day. However, the true difficulty was the black coffins. Even now, there were still 94 people who remained in the black coffins until they broke through. Perhaps many people would die in the black coffins. Of course, this was excluding the children of the great families. Most of these families were located in the faraway borders of the star domain, guarding dozens or even hundreds of planes. There were countless powerhouses at the level of angels, and the children of these families were naturally exempt from the trial grounds. After all, the ruler Claude also needed their support, so he couldn't afford to offend them. This was the 6th day of the Chosen by God trial. Just the day before, Sheen had personally witnessed 3 students being killed by the instructor during their fight. The bloody scene was still vivid in her mind, and it was still fresh in her mind. She couldn't die. She had to live, to remember who she was. This was the only thing she wanted to do. She knew that someone was waiting for her in the distance. Although she had already forgotten everything, even the person waiting for her, she was certain. Sheen. Vice Dean Li Fei's voice came from the air. She looked disdainfully at Sheen coldly and asked, What are you thinking about? Sheen said respectfully, Nothing, Vice Dean. Come with me. I have something to tell you. Yes, Vice Dean. Sheen leaped up and followed Li Fei out of the trial grounds. Li Fei flew straight towards the instructor's dormitory. A circular building appeared in the distance. This was Li Fei's living quarters. Creak. The wooden door slowly opened. A faint fragrance came from inside. Li Fei was the most beautiful woman among the instructors in the trial grounds. She was also the goddess in the eyes of most male instructors. She maintained a very particular lifestyle. Her living quarters were elegant and clean. However, none of the instructors in the trial grounds dared to approach Li Fei. This was because she had another nickname, Sweetthorn. As the Vice Dean and a God Emperor level Radiant Angel, ordinary gods were not qualified to approach her. Come in. After Li Fei walked into the room, she revealed a lazy expression. She kicked off her leather boots and stepped barefoot on the floor. She smiled and said, Sheen, I have something a friend asked me to give to you. Oh. Sheen was surprised. Li Fei was holding something wrapped in cloth. After unwrapping it, it was a stone with a dense spiritual light. Radiant primordial stone? Sheen was stunned. That's right, It's a radiant primordial stone. A radiant primordial stone that has been preserved for nearly 7,000 years. Li Fei smiled. Xian asked me to give this to you. She can't enter the trial grounds during the trial, so she asked me to give this radiant primordial stone that she has preserved for many years to you. She hopes that this radiant primordial stone will allow you to break through in a short period of time. According to the classification of power, you should be at the 37th stage of the Grotto Heaven realm. However, I believe that you also know that you still have a lot of potential that hasn't been stimulated. Therefore, I hope that after you refine this radiant primordial stone, you will be able to step into the 40th stage of the Grotto Heaven realm. That way, you won't be killed by duo law. Xian was surprised. Li Fei seemed to know what she was thinking. What do you think the God's chosen trial is? It's just a competition where the weak are prey to the strong. In order to become the final victor, everyone will do anything. They will give up the dignity and nature of gods and kill each other, especially duo law. As she said this, Li Fei sighed. The plane that duo law came from is a barren plane, a plane that has been destroyed. The nuclear war has left that plane without any life. Duo law survived the radiation and pollution. Her family has all died. Now there is only hatred and killing in duo la's heart. She wants to step on everyone's corpses and step onto the peak of the strong. And you, in this God's chosen trial, are the only person that can keep her in check. Do you understand? Xian was silent. It doesn't matter if you understand or not. In any case, you can't be killed by her. Otherwise, you will fail to live up to the expectations that Lady Xian has for you. Li Fei stood up, straightened her chair, and said, You can cultivate here. Refine this radiant origin stone first. 2 days from now is the final trial. Your opponents are the ancient demons. You must survive and participate in the final God's chosen trial. Xian held the radiant origin stone and finally spoke. Why do you want to help me? Help you? Li Fei suddenly smiled. Don't misunderstand. The one who truly wants to help you is Xian. I don't want to help you. To me, the God's chosen trial is nothing more than a once-in-a-century tradition. I'm just an executor. Thank you. No need to thank me. Li Fei began to take off her stockings. Hurry up and cultivate. I hope I won't disturb you. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. When Xian finished refining the radiant origin stone and opened his eyes, Li Fei smiled. As expected, your comprehension of the law of light is extraordinary. This is too surprising. In 2 days, you broke through 3 realms and entered the 40th heavenly abode. I think there shouldn't be a second person in the world who can do this, right? Xian stood up and respectfully bowed. Thank you. I already said, no need to thank me. Li Fei put on her cloak and boots and said, Let's go to the trial field. Today is the day you challenge the evil beasts. Remember, if you survive, you will be the one who used up 2 radiant origin stones. If you die, the Western Divine Realm will have wasted 2 radiant origin stones. Do you understand? And I understand. Let's go. When Xian and Li Fei entered the trial field together, many students revealed looks of jealousy and hatred, especially Dora. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she clenched her fists. The corner of her mouth twitched. She said calmly, I am first. That should be my honor. Terralyn sneered. Is that so? What, you don't accept it? Dora said coldly as she looked at Terralyn. Hee hee. Terralyn smiled and didn't reply. Lake's body trembled slightly. He seemed to be a little afraid, but also a little excited. Do you know what we're going to challenge today? Everyone knows. Terralyn raised her eyebrows. Gaia, an ancient evil beast. An evil beast born with divine power. The biggest difference in this trial field is that there are nearly 100 Gaia domesticated. So you know. Lake was a little disappointed. He immediately looked at Xian, who was next to Li Fei. Don't think about it. Terralyn's lips curled up. You don't deserve her. You. Lake had known Terralyn since he was young. He couldn't help but clench his fists. He wanted to immediately teach her a lesson. Chapter 798. There were a total of 29 people who participated in the challenge against Gaia, which was 15 fewer than the previous 44 people. Shein knew that 9 of the 15 people had exited the trial due to exhaustion after breaking out of the closed chamber. Another 5 people had died from the backlash while trying to break through the barrier. As for the last person, he was killed by the instructor because he was ranked last. The trial grounds had always been like this. The survival of the fittest was even better than the mortal world. Today, all of you are challengers. Li Fei wore a short black skirt and walked up to the podium with a smile on her face. All of you are the elites of the Western Star region, chosen by the families of the various planes. You can be called the elites of the divine realm. I believe all of you know who the challengers are. That's right, it's Gaia, the evil beast that hides in the dark caves of the universe. It's also a legendary fierce beast. Every Gaia has the strength of the first heavenly layer of the divine realm, when it's a cub. When it matures, it has the cultivation of at least the 30th heavenly layer. Since ancient times, let me see. She suddenly looked down at her notebook and smiled. A total of 47,831 elites of the Western Divine Realm have died under the claws of Gaia. I hope that today, you won't let this number continue to increase. Alright, one by one. We'll start with the last one. Let's go, we're going to challenge Gaia. Open the door. When Li Fei shouted to open the door, a group of celestial realm guards pulled the noose with all their might. Suddenly, the ground split open, and a green stone staircase led underground. Obviously, Gaia was domesticated underground. Li Fei walked in front and floated into the underground cave. Soon, Shein, Terralyn, and the other contestants were escorted underground by the celestial realm guards. A fishy smell assaulted their nostrils. It was obviously the smell of Gaia's prey. The underground was relatively bright. A huge origin lamp illuminated the entire underground lair. Here, the stone walls were filled with crisscross claw marks. At the bottom of the entire cave was a circular space. The surroundings bulged and were blocked by crisscrossing iron chains. The iron chains glowed with a faint luster. Obviously, they were infused with divine power. Needless to say, every participant must have challenged the Gaia evil beast in this arena. Everyone's expressions turned ugly. They had only heard of Gaia in legends. Now that they were about to see it for themselves, they felt an inexplicable sense of fear. Even Duo La, who had the strongest cultivation base among them, had a slight change in expression. When she turned to look at Shein, she discovered that the beautiful young lady was still able to keep her heart as still as water. Immediately, Duo La's expression turned even uglier. The 29th place. Yes, it's Hanluan. Men, bring Hanluan into the arena. Li Fei's voice was filled with an unquestionable tone. The group of contestants looked down at the arena from above. Hanluan was a young man of about 20 years old. He said with a pale face, Can I give up the qualification? It's too late. Li Fei smiled faintly. Go. As long as you enter the arena, it doesn't matter if you run or fight. If you don't die after 5 minutes, then you've passed this test. 2 instructors rushed forward and twisted Hanluan's arms on each side. They couldn't help but separate and drag Hanluan into the gate of the arena. The iron gate closed with a clang sound, as if it was a judgment. With a swoosh, a contestant's longsword fell from his hand. Just as the longsword touched the edge of the arena, a flame flew up. The barrier instantly melted the longsword into a pile of scrap iron. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. The barrier here is very powerful. If someone without a divine wall tries to break through the barrier, they will be burned to ashes. Li Fei smiled. Don't try. Everyone's expression turned even uglier. Huff, huff, huff. In the arena, Hanluan panted heavily. He had stepped into the 21st heaven realm at such a young age. In his hometown, he was a rare genius. But at this moment, Hanluan's heart was filled with fear. Release Gaia. 2 celestial world guards pulled the noose with all their might. In the next moment, a door in the distance slowly opened. In the darkness, 2 lanterns swayed. It was the light of the eyes of evil beasts. Roar. A fishy smell assaulted everyone's nostrils. An ugly giant creature with 4 limbs walked out. Its body was covered in jagged scales like the skin of a crocodile. Its 4 limbs supported its body, but under its ugly head was a pair of arms like the pincers of a scorpion. Its body was covered in a layer of golden light. Roar! When Guya smelled the scent of humans, it was extremely excited and directly rushed over. Han Luan gritted his teeth. Since he couldn't avoid it, he could only fight with all his might. With a shake of his palm, a long sword engraved with runes appeared. With a roar, his body shone brightly. His entire body turned into a beam of light and rushed toward Guya. Bang! Guya paused for a moment, but Han Luan's body bounced back like a cannonball. He slammed heavily into the stone wall and fell to the ground while vomiting blood. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. Li Fei smiled and said, every Guya will have a 100% chance of understanding the God Wall after reaching adulthood. Unless you can pierce through Guya's God Wall, don't even think of harming it. This is also the reason why Guya's numbers have never decreased in the past tens of thousands of years. Contestants have no way of killing Guya. They just need to last for 5 minutes. Damn bastard. In the arena, Han Luan was furious. He raised his long sword and flew, dodging Guya's pouncing bite. He had actually given up on attacking and only focused on dodging. Just like Li Fei said, if he could dodge Guya's attack and last for 5 minutes, it would be considered his victory. But Han Luan didn't. Gotcha. Guya's front claws suddenly attacked and clamped onto Han Luan's right leg. Amidst the sound of the leg bone breaking, Han Luan howled in pain. He waved his long sword and slashed out a light-type attack. Roar! What welcomed him was Guya's huge mouth. With another crunch, Han Luan's entire head was bitten off. Guya chewed on Han Luan's entire body in 2 or 3 bites. It seemed to be very satisfied. Challenge failed. Li Fei shrugged and said with a smile, you don't even need to prepare a coffin. How convenient. The group of contestants was stunned. Who could be as calm as this female dean? Many contestants couldn't help but take a few steps back, their faces pale. 20th place enter. A few instructors were the first to enter the arena. They waved their swords and ordered the Guya to enter its lair. Following that, they opened another entrance and allowed an unharmed Guya to walk in. 20th place was a dark-skinned person. His weapon was very strange. Perhaps it wasn't even a weapon, but a shield. Oh, it's Luo Fei from the Nia family. Terralyn smiled slightly and said, the Nia family is one of the few families that mainly use the law of light. Interesting. Luo Fei slowly entered the arena. Although he was nervous, he did not have too much fear. He held his shield and quietly looked at the Guya behemoth. Just when the behemoth launched its attack, his figure cleverly turned to avoid it. The behemoth roared continuously, raised its claws, and pounced on him with unavoidable flames. Devour mirror image. Luo Fei shouted and raised his giant shield. A huge black hole condensed in front of him, as if absorbing all the light. The Guya behemoth's claw wind was also completely swallowed. Dang, the behemoth's body was actually bounced back by the light barrier. On the stage, everyone watching the battle was stunned. Although Luo Fei was only ranked 28th, he didn't seem to be weak. In the next 5 minutes, the arena was filled with the light of the collision of flames and the law of light shield. There were several times when the Guya behemoth almost swallowed Luo Fei, but Luo Fei was able to turn the danger into safety. Although he was badly injured, he still survived the difficult 5 minutes and survived. Enough, Guya. Go back. Li Fei suddenly shouted. The sand in the hourglass had run out. Time was up. Woo woo. Guya quickly retreated and entered the nest with its tail between its legs. Luo Fei stumbled out. His shield was full of Guya's claws and teeth marks. His entire left arm was covered in blood, almost drenched. Treat him immediately. Next, get ready to enter, Li Fei said lightly. Around noon it was finally Xian's turn. She was ranked 10th in the first round, which was why her overall ranking was lower. Before Xian, a total of 15 people had passed Guya's test. The other 9 had become Guya's meal. There were bloodstains everywhere in the arena. It was a horrible sight. Make sure you don't get eaten by Guya, Dora said with a sneer as he crossed his arms. Xian glanced at her and said nothing. She went straight to the iron gate. Instructor Kulin opened the gate for her and whispered, "Sheen, are you confident?" Sheen smiled and asked, "If I kill you, will I be punished?" No. No. Kulin was stunned. "Thank you, instructor." The girl slowly entered the arena. With a slight shake of her hand, a dazzling longsword appeared in her palm. It was Lin Muyu's stellar sword. That is. Li Fei furrowed her brows tightly as if she had seen this weapon somewhere before, but she couldn't remember where. The other instructors knew nothing. They had never seen this sword before. They did not even know who Lin Muyu was. After all, there was no Weibo or WeChat moments in the Divine Realm. No matter how well Lin Muyu did in the Shattered Cauldron Realm, the gods in the Divine Realm did not know about it. Roar! An intact Guya came out of the cage. Facing its petite opponent, it seemed to be very disdainful. It roared and wagged its huge tail, staring at her. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.